right. Can you see and hear me, everybody? Let me know. Anything? Oh, right now the wind picks up. Okay, thank you, Lenina. Excellent. Welcome, welcome, everybody, back to Paleontologizing. It's wonderful to have you here today. We are back at Turtle Hill today, but we've got a paleobotanist on site, so we're going to be looking at some fossil leaves, along with all the other cool things from Turtle Hill as well. If it's your first time here, then welcome to Paleontologizing. I'm a paleontologist, and yeah, dinosaurs are what I work on. Dinosaurs are what I publish on in the scientific literature and what I dig up during the summers. And we're out here doing that right now. We will see a dinosaur bone today on stream, but the majority of what you're going to be seeing are the other critters that were around at this time in the late Cretaceous 73 million years ago, give or take, here in the Almond Formation of southern Wyoming. I'm excited about this. I don't know a whole lot about fossil plants, but I've been learning how to excavate them today, and we're going to walk through that process together. It's going to be pretty neat. But yeah, hello everybody. Claire Burr, Golganek, Wombat Hole, Ellie Bunnies, Ash Odinson. So Spartan, thank you for the 58 months of support. Holy cow. And Special Lexa K. Hey, welcome. Good to have you here. Haven't seen that name here before. Yeah, the whole point of these streams is to show you how science works, how paleontologists collect fossils and collect data in the field. This is the best way that I know for doing science outreach. So feel free to ask whatever questions you may happen to have, and we'll do our best to answer them for you. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the stuff we got going on over here. And 58 months and tier 3, that is impressive, Spartan. Thank you. Continued support, it does mean a great deal. It helps out a lot. I do this full time. This is how I make my living. That would not be possible without generous supporters like you, Spartan. So thank you. Holy cow. All right, so adjust our camera here so it doesn't spin around on us. That should work. Nice. Yeah. Welcome back to Turtle Hill. This is potentially our most important site here in the Almond Formation. And it does pain me a little bit to say that as a dinosaur person, but there's so many other critters here. It's this wonderful kind of sample platter of just what this ancient environment was like. So down there is the Turtle Hill that you know and love. There's Josh, there's Fisher in the white sun helmet, and then I don't know where Ava went, but I'm sure she'll be back soon.
Sedimentary work with Nick.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's the coal mine down there. We'll be taking a look there. And then over here, we've got Whitney and Paul working in the fossil plant horizon. So we're going to be spending, I think, the majority of our time there today for our stream. But first, let me show all you early birds what we got going on down here at Turtle Hill before it gets obscured. I think, Fisher, are you jacketing that rib right now? Oh, good timing. Okay, we can just catch the end of it. Ugh. We've got a rare dinosaur bone from Turtle Hill right here. There's a big rib. It's got to be from a dinosaur. There's no other critters that are this big with ribs like that in this formation. So, yeah, there we go. Nice.
Some of it here, which is going to come out in the skull block.
Nice.
And then there's some over on this side as well. You can see I think it's the capitulum. Yeah, right there.
Oh, nice.
Just
Okay.
the head of the rib.
Rib head right there, so it extends like this, and then all the way into that white lump.
Yeah.
So Fisher just made this gypsona right there.
And this is an interesting scenario where breaking the bone is actually the correct decision.
Right.
Which,
Trying to get this out in one piece would not work.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, to make an omelet, you got to break a few ribs. So that's what we're doing here.
Ribs are not super diagnostic
Yeah.
for taxonomy, and I don't believe they're great for histology either.
Not usually, no.
So, I mean, it's...
Well, an isolated rib is definitely no good
Yeah,
for histology.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't determine what it's from or anything. So.
Yeah.
But it's still worth collecting. Like Danny said, we don't usually get dinosaur material here. We got like an ornithischian tooth in the lower bed, like maybe a week ago.
Yeah, that's why we were streaming here. It was just a few minutes after we ended the stream, unfortunately.
And then we've gotten a couple like rib fragments from the upper bone bed, but very few from the lower. So this is kind of a fun surprise for us.
Pretty neat.
Though its position is super inconvenient. because otherwise this probably would have already been capped and removed by now.
Yeah.
That would have given me a lot more peace of mind.
Yeah, shoot.
Given how important this specimen in particular is.
Yeah, tell us about this right here, Fisher.
So
Shoot.
I've got plaster hands right now, so I can't do a lot of like touchy-feely stuff.
Shoot, I should go get my laser pointer. I brought it today.
But this, both myself and Ethan and Danny and a lot of other vertebrate paleontologists on our team from side of a crocodilian skull.
Pretty
And
darn
so
cool.
some of the dead ringers are this and this, which are the quadrates. That's what articulates with the lower jaws in reptiles. And then this little ball here, which is the occipital condyle, which is the first cervical vertebrae, or the atlas, articulates.
So that's where the skull connects to the neck, right
Exactly.
there. That
So
kind of
the-
trailer ball hitch.
The foramen magnum, or the big hole where the spinal cord goes in, would be right below that.
Very nice, yeah. So croc skull, super, super cool.
Yeah, if we're correct, it looks very reptilian and it looks very but I guess it could be some sort of like small dinosaur or something, potentially. But I see croc here.
Yeah, I see croc too, especially that tooth.
Yeah.
That tooth is very crocky. It's got the fluting on it.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know if that belongs to the same animal or
It
not.
could be different, yeah. How killer would that be if we've got a theropod skull from Turtle Hill?
The texture of it does look kind of crocodilian to me.
It does to me too, yeah.
It looks
when
like
I got up there with the hand lens, it looks pretty crocky.
And then we've also got brain case here. So this is the occipital bone.
Oh,
of the Melvius.
neat.
So that's the same bone that's here at the back of the croc skull where it articulates with the vertebral column. It's just this is from the big carnivorous fish, Melvius, or Melvin as we like to call him, or her. We don't know its sex. And then this is the crocodilian one.
Nice. Super, super
And a
cool.
lot of other fun things here, like this little tooth plate here.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Teeth.
With those little circles all lined up like that, like a 6-pack ring. More of a 9-pack ring.
Yeah. And then this bone, which is probably another fish cranial element that we're not really sure what it belongs to. It could be Melvius, it could be something else.
Could that be like a post-orbital or something like that?
I don't know. I'd have to look at the literature again and parse through it. And then there's certainly all sorts of other really fun things hidden throughout all this matrix. And
this is just a
within
beautiful
the
block right here.
Yeah.
So again, like Fisher would have gotten this out a week ago if that rib hadn't showed up and started to complicate these plans.
Yeah.
Because this is really important right here. You gonna be jacketing this today?
Probably, yeah. So the plan is to get this capped and let it dry, and then kind of prise it off to the side laterally, which will break the bone along this really thin area.
Right.
And then that'll allow me to cap this and then hopefully slide it out.
Nice.
Either at the end of the day today or early tomorrow.
Nice,
Depending
very
on how
nice.
quickly the gypsona hardens.
Yeah. Excellent. Very cool.
Yeah.
Man.
It's been hard because we have rodents burrowing like right underneath the bone here, so you can see some of these little pockets that I've had to fill in with mudstone.
Oh shoot!
To make sure that it stays stable.
Gotta use precious water for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that under there where your glue storage, is that all a pack rat den in there?
I think it's probably a rabbit given its size.
Cool.
But yeah, they've been burrowing through all sorts of large elements down here. So we had a turtle shell that was right through here that Bennett took out a while ago. That was like right above the burrow here. So I don't know if there's a correlation or not, but it seems like every single time we get a big three-dimensional element at the lower bed, we've got an animal burrow right under it. Maybe it's just bad luck.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just want to be where you are.
Yeah.
They're like, this is a mammal guy. I feel safe here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know I'll take good care of them.
Nice.
Right.
Do some more gypsonaing here.
It's fragile. With the coal as the underlying layer,
Yeah,
it's
it's really friable,
Really
yeah.
important to make
The
sure
stuff
that
is,
your gypsum is pretty solid.
yeah.
You don't want to skimp on it when you have such crappy support.
Yep. Shoot. Well, for such a technical site, you're doing a fantastic job. This is not easy work, for sure. You know that, but I like to say it anyway. Yeah. How's it going over here, Josh?
Not much is really going on.
I was stuck over here last time we were streaming from Turtle Hill, and that was, felt like
Josh
purgatory
did pull
over
a
here.
fish skull element there. It's on the west coast.
Oh, nice.
From
Very
over
nice.
There, so
Mistakenly glued the crap out of it.
it's got
Well,
a
that's
bunch of
fine,
metal
yeah.
glue on it.
Yeah.
It's reversible, but it's a little
Better
bit
too much glue than not enough, oftentimes. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, just a whole lot of chipping away at this clay layer,
Mhm.
which isn't very interesting. But we got to finish the bench, so not mad
Yeah.
about it.
Somebody in chat says, he is so muddy. That's not mud.
Yeah,
That's coal dust right there.
I've got a lot of coal, and then it's kind of mixing with my
The
sunscreen.
sunscreen, yep.
So I'm sorry to the viewers if that's a rough sight.
No, that's what we look like out here, you know?
That's what we do.
That's the
Reality.
the sacrifices that we make for fossil science.
I'm from Appalachia, so this is in my blood.
Your father's a
My pa and my grandpa before me.
we're both
my great granddaddy. It is Father's Day.
It is Father's Day, yeah. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
My dad is not actually a coal miner. He teaches art, but I don't want to give the viewers misinformation.
Yeah, it's hard to make a living as a coal miner nowadays. Sure. Gotta move into academia. It's a little bit more stable. Pays a little bit better. It's more dangerous though. Yeah. I mean, coal mining. Yeah, academia is more dangerous than coal mining. I mean,
at least mentally.
Yeah. Have you seen that Monty Python sketch with the playwright's son, where the yeah, it's like an inversion of that old trope, but it's like a guy. He's like this. I think he's like from Yorkshire or something. I don't know, but he's like complaining about his writer's wrist is acting up, and then like he's like yelling at his wife, and his son comes home, and he's like, "Why won't you do an honest day's work?" And the son's like, "I want to be a coal miner, father. It's more to life than culture. There's dirt and smoke and big dark holes in the ground." That's what we're doing here. So yeah, similar situation with you and your dad, Fisher. Yeah. Anywho, Berian says in the chat, "Oh, it's Dad's Day, but moms are actually the best." Okay.
Good take.
Great. Yeah,
Yes.
I like that. Forget dads. We should have 2 Mother's Days.
Quick shout out to moms.
Yeah, we've all got them.
We got them.
Yeah, they're kind of important, I guess. Yeah. Anywho, dads are important as well.
That's why we're so thankful for our father figure, Danny, here.
Yeah? Oh, thanks, son.
For a 21-year-old, he really knows how to be a mature presence in our lives.
You know what? I appreciate that, Fisher. Yeah, my 21 years, I've learned a lot. Some of them were multiple years rolled into one, but anyway, that's just how it goes out here. Yeah, pretty soon I'm going to have more field seasons under my belt than just 21, and so the joke's going to be even stupider, I think I'm at like 16 or 17 or 18 now, if we count like different field seasons within the same summer, like 1 month here, 1 month there. So, anywho, yeah, probably next year I'll have more field seasons under my belt than years I've been alive. How does that even happen? So, anywho, yeah. Is Alexander Morrison not here in the chat? He's missing the croc skull. He's going to completely miss that.
Well, someone can clip this.
Yeah, there we go.
So, for him.
Yeah, do you want to give a shout out to Alexander Morrison?
Shout out Alexander Morrison.
Shout out.
Crocodile skull here. There we go. Was that sufficient? Yeah, that'll have to do for him. That'll learn him to show up late. Anyway, it probably will be a croc skull. We're excited about it. But we're going to get that thing capped so it'll be nice and safe. Yeah. Anywho, thanks, guys.
No problem.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hot today. I'm feeling a little goofy, so apologies to everybody watching. Yeah, today's might be kind of a silly stream, but that's okay. We're gonna check in here with our resident plant zoologist, Whitney. That's what you call a scientist who studies plants, right?
Just about.
Yeah. We've got a whole plant fauna in here, like we were talking about. Yeah, let's take a look at some of these leaves that you've got.
Yeah, these I just pulled out like a few minutes ago. This one's broken.
Nice. It's beautiful, though.
Yeah, this one is a nice one.
Really nice.
The veins are a lot darker than the actual leaf, so makes it pop.
Awesome.
And then this one, this is part and counterpart. So this was on top, and this was below. And we get a lot of pretty well preserved leaves, but we don't get a lot that have the whole margin.
Right. Yeah.
The base, the petiole.
Petiole. That's a term that I just learned today, or had reinforced today at least. Yeah. Nice.
So that one's a good one.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we just started exposing this layer here.
Awesome.
But
wait, is that that part that I was uncovering earlier?
Yeah.
You got it that fast. Wow.
Well, yeah.
Awesome.
So there was like a wall here, like, what, 30 minutes ago?
Yeah, less than that, yeah. 15 minutes ago, something like that, yeah. No,
Yeah.
30 minutes ago is right, yeah.
And these just popped out like literally right here.
Nice.
So,
all right, that's a rich vein. Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, I wanted to show this one.
Uh-huh.
Let me see if I can get it cleaned off a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that shows up very well.
Look at
on
that,
camera.
yeah.
But that one's pretty big, so it's like bigger than my hand. The margin goes all the way out to here.
That's awesome. This is your biggest leaf so far?
So far this year, I don't remember. We had a couple of big ones last year,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't remember how well those made it out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
So we're kind of these cracks running through it, but
yeah,
it's beautiful. Yesterday?
yep,
Nice.
yeah.
So it survived for a while on the surface. Nice.
At least a day.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll be showing you later, Chat, how we collect these things and wrap them up. We'll get maybe a wrapping lesson from MC Whitney, and yeah, that'll be good. It'll be good. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick to the camera, to anybody who maybe might not remember you from last year?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Whitney. I just finished a undergrad in geology in December, and I work at the Geology Museum there at USU.
Utah State University.
Yes.
Nice, yeah.
And I'm going to start my master's in August at Wesleyan University.
Congratulations.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Connecticut. That's going to be quite the change from northern Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I've been out there a couple of times since, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not used to humidity coming from
Yeah.
Colorado and then from Utah. It's like,
You from Colorado originally?
yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
So
Very nice.
It's a bit different.
Cool. Yeah. Well, shoot, the altitude will be a lot lower there, so like you'll
Yeah.
arrive and you'll be able to run for miles and
yeah,
miles.
maybe I'll finally be a runner. We'll
There you go,
see.
yeah.
Maybe that's all it takes.
Nice. So what got you into fossil plants?
So I started volunteering on like dino digs in 2021 with the Prehistoric Museum, and
Was Josh there yet?
yep.
Nice.
it was
Yeah,
actually
Josh Lively.
His first field season.
Oh,
with that
very
museum
cool. Wow.
Was my first field season. So
So you both have the same ranking there. You're both have seniority on those crews.
yeah. I don't know about that, but
Josh Lively is the curator of the Prehistoric Museum in Price, Utah.
yeah.
Curator, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I interned the summer after that at that museum, just doing like fossil prep and collections. And Josh was like, if you want to do a research project while you're here, that'd be awesome. And I was like, yeah, there's this one really weird plant we found in the Neslin Formation. Like, we should try figuring out what that is. And of course that spiraled into like a giant 3-year project that might never end.
It's still. Oh, nice. Well, that sounds exciting though. It sounds like it's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
Yeah.
And can you give us any spoilers on that? What kind of plant is it?
Yeah, we found cone scales from a new type of
Ooh,
conifer.
Very cool.
New species of a conifer, of a genus that's already known.
Nice.
So yeah, it'll
Cool.
be good.
Have you come up with a new species name for it yet?
Oh, I haven't. I was like just thinking about that the other day.
Uh-huh.
It's like I have ideas that are like definitely more like fun, pretty names.
Uh-huh.
Like some that are like, I should just name this after the formation. I don't know.
Oh, what is the I know for the ICZN, the Zoological Nomenclature Code, you can't name it after yourself. Can plant people name things after themselves?
I don't think so.
Could we have a
I feel like I wouldn't
Whitney
be brave
Flora
enough.
species name?
I wouldn't be brave enough to do this. There is like a spirifer called Whitney Eye.
Oh,
I know.
cool.
I don't know if there's any others. But
Yeah.
yeah. So that'll be good. And then we're
Cool.
just working on like a big descriptive paper. So there should be hopefully 2 papers out of that, describing a new species of conifer and then doing like an overall description of the formation.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. Well, it's great, Whitney, here. You're here today and tomorrow.
Yep.
So she's been teaching me how to collect fossil plants. I'm not very good at it yet, but you'll get to witness some of that today, chat. And yeah. Let's see. Why are people talking about peach? Let's see. There we go. Yeah. Lordy says, hi, friends. Danny, Ios, and I are watching while we can some cherries and peaches. Very
Wow.
nice. That's why. Okay, that's a good reason. Yeah. But, yeah. Birian says, look into the Whitney eye. It's not Whitney eye like that. It's a species name. Yeah. Or is that a genus name?
I think
Whitney
it's
eye.
I really
I wouldn't know,
it was a species, but I could be wrong. I just know we like.
It would be like
found
Whitney if it were a genus, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they
It's
normally
spelled
end with
like
I,
Whitney,
but
just with an I at the end.
oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna be continuing over here. So, how does this typically work? Like when you find fossil leaves like this, let's explain to the viewers like how we do this.
Yeah. So this is like a different. I mean, it definitely depends on the rock type. But what we're doing here is called like benchtop quarrying. So we want to clear off like as large and flat a space as possible, because the larger the area, the more likely you are to get like full leaves. And so this rock, it's really interesting. It's like, this is all like fine grained and massive, and really hard to break. It like won't break on bedding very well at all in the middle here. It basically just like breaks if there's a leaf.
Nice.
So it's hard to get like those nice full sheets of leaves that you would see like in the Green River Formation or anything like that. But then in between these like thick layers, there's these thinner layers of what it looks like material.
Yeah, look at that.
I bet we have a better piece somewhere.
I've got some over here that I set aside. Here's one I prepared earlier. Yeah. So you can lift that piece off there, off the top, and I think that.
So it's just like,
There we go, yeah.
oh, that is a nice one.
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Yeah. So these like layers of crushed up shells is what most of
Mollusks,
is what most of what these beds are. And then we're just they're already pretty fractured. So if you come like see, well, here or here, there's like these fractures that were there before. So I'm just trying to chunk them out in as big of pieces as possible. And a lot of times they're breaking where the leaves are, and then if it's like a really massive piece, I'll hammer it a bit and hope something pops out.
Nice.
But yeah.
We've got some really nice examples so far. We'll probably see some of those in a few minutes. I don't want to interrupt your work here too badly.
Yeah, well.
But, oh, sorry, I already did, huh?
You're good. You're not interrupting anything.
But all kinds of cool things like that. You could make an argument that the fossil plants are more important scientifically than the dinosaurs from this formation, because they tell us what this climate was like here, what kind of environment it was, all that stuff. Of course, you'll never hear me say that the plants are more important than the dinosaurs, but they might actually be.
Depends on who you're around
Yeah,
when you say that.
exactly. Yeah. But yeah, this is cool stuff. And I don't think it's 109 degrees Fahrenheit right now. I don't think that temperature reading is correct.
No, it is not.
No.
I wouldn't be here if it was.
Yeah. Oh, and Dr. Hub says there is a snail called Discus whitneyi that I identified from Rancho La Brea.
Wow.
Oh, neat. Okay. You're famous already, Whitney. Shoot.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean my snail?
Yours, exactly, yeah. So yeah, we can get back to work here. Let's see. And where did Paul go? Did he flee as soon as the camera showed up?
I think he thought he would go find a shady place to lay down.
Nice, that's a good idea. Yeah. It is 109 degrees Fahrenheit right now, after all.
If you ask Paul, it is.
Cool. Yeah, so we can see how this works. That's a big chunk there. Nice.
Yeah, hopefully it will. Okay, so there's one.
Okay.
Not great. It's broken,
most
so we
beautiful,
probably
but
won't
it's
take it. But actually,
Oh, that's really nice there.
that's a cute little one. I
Yeah,
wonder
look at that.
where the other side of that one is.
Yeah, look around. I'll grab my laser because I should have that handy to point to things without getting my plants. There we go. Shout out to Paleo Ken, who dropped by the package store to pick up a package for me that has a laser pointer. Nice. Charger back home before I left, so yeah.
And then this one, this leaf we just saw.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna collect that. It's way too partial. This might be some insect damage, I'm not sure.
Oh, cool.
But generally, the rule, at least that I was taught, is you only want to collect leaves that have like enough margin to like say something important about the margin, and then
Gotcha.
either the base or the tip. Some people would say you need both. But yeah, so leaves like this we wouldn't collect.
Right.
They are fun to look at, unless there was
You can
something
see
like
right along here, it's kind of a scraggly edge. Could be an insect chewing on that. Nice.
Yep.
As I understand it, there's a bunch of different insect groups that are only really known from the fossil record from the damage they left on leaves.
That's true.
Right? So
Yeah.
that's important stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, and like there are people who spend their whole careers studying that. It's that might sound pretty arcane, but like it's really useful to be able to have this kind of information. Know what kind of bugs are around at the time. Plants tell you what the climate is like. Like all of this stuff is really important. Oh yeah, and then where was the other one? Oh, right over there. Yeah.
There you go. There's
Nice.
a little one.
Try not to step on this other leaf.
Yeah, sorry. I
But
should
yeah, no, it's fine.
probably take a wrap.
We've got this right here, part and counterpart. Is there a rule for which one is the part the bigger one and the counterpart is? Are they interchangeable?
You know, I've never even thought about that.
Yeah?
I just figured.
I get too hung up on the
Yeah.
terminology, you know. But it's nice to have, you know, speaking of terminology, a plant zoologist here to confirm or deny, you know. But yeah, very nice. That's cool. So that one might not be worth collecting because it's not whole.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would like. I'll pull this out and see if it looks like the margin is just like diving underneath this piece of rock. Then we could collect it for prep. But yeah, this one doesn't look super promising.
Yeah.
It's cute the way it is.
Yeah.
But, and then if this is a monocot,
Oh,
that
yeah.
would be fun. I don't know.
Huh.
We haven't seen much
Very cool.
in the way of monocots.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Neat that we just got to see that come up live, too.
Yeah.
In real time. We'll have more of that. Cross your fingers we get some really nice ones that we can collect. These are not drug paraphernalia or anything like that. This is, these are bundles of fossil leaves in here. Each one of these has been kind of mummified in toilet paper for safe travel back to the laboratory. Yeah, nice. Are these going with you, Whitney? Back to Price?
No,
or?
I believe they're going to Cincinnati.
Oh, they're going to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But looks like Whitney's going to be. Well, actually, I'm not sure. We got to figure out what's going on with these afterward. But here, take a look.
I don't know if this
Trying
will
to flip this.
break
Trying to split it.
anymore. We've had a hard time. Oh.
Oh.
Oh, there's
No.
a little bit of a leaf, but it's not very good.
Mm.
You can see it maybe on that side.
There we
right
go.
there.
Yeah, we got some veins going on right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Cool. This is such a promising piece. Like, I hope it yields
It's
something
so
cool.
big. Yeah. No. I might just move on to
Yeah.
greener pastures with that one.
Is this gypsum in here, or are these like shell?
You know,
Bits.
I don't know.
I think it's gypsum. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so sometimes in these like natural cracks in the rock, you get gypsum that kind of precipitates out or accumulates or however it forms. But yeah. Yeah, neat. Cool. Cross your fingers, we get some really nice ones coming out of here. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna wrap a few of these. I don't know if you wanna.
Yeah, let's take a look
Okay.
as you wrap some of them. You can see this
Just 'cause
complicated process.
If I just keep making piles, I'll just never.
Yeah.
I'll just start losing them.
You need like a designated just wrapping person over there.
I know, right?
And Starmy wants to know, can you keep the fossils that aren't important like that leaf for yourself, or does everything have to go to a museum that you collect?
I think that if you're like volunteering with like an organization, you should definitely check with whoever you're working with.
Absolutely.
But invertebrates on public land are
Fair
legal
game.
to collect.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
usually, yeah. I mean, if there's cool stuff that I wouldn't want to take with me, or that I don't think are worth research for whatever reason, then they could definitely go home with someone, because otherwise they just
Yeah.
end up at the bottom of this hill.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. If they're pretty but not scientifically, I was going to say worthful. I need to drink some more water. Valuable, thank you. If they're not scientifically useful, but they're pretty, like, you know, it's not going to hurt anybody to take a few of them home. In fact, it's perfect.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We still get a little bit like, oh, I don't know about this kind of thing. We're just trained that way.
Yeah, I feel like I was always taught, and I don't think there's like a right or wrong way to do this, but I was always taught, like, if I'm gonna do this for like research or a career, my like priority should never be my own collection.
Exactly.
And like, if I'm out doing it for fun for myself, that's different than like on a dig.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel exactly the same way when I find like fossil inverts and stuff. Like, I'm really hesitant to keep them just because I don't want to be in that mindset. You know, it's like you don't want to build a bad habit.
It's also like, I don't know, maybe this is just like comes from working in a museum, but like I get really excited knowing the stuff I find is going to a museum.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about keeping it safe at home or anything. If you have to move apartments, it's like you don't have to lug it around. You just know it'll be in that museum. Like, all the things I collect, they'll be there long after I'm dead, and that's really neat. Yeah, not so for the stuff that might be in a personal collection. So I don't really have much of a personal fossil collection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
My fossils at home are not in any kind of climate controlled.
Just in a shoebox under the bed or something. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A box at my parents' house. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me grab my water bottle. I hid it under here to keep it cool. Nice. So yeah, Chat, you're about to witness a paleobotanical ritual that is arcane and complicated and it just requires tremendous skill.
Oh yeah. I went to school for this.
So how does this work?
Basically, you just want to wrap it until it's soft and round, and you don't want any like sharp edges. It's a little bit timely and ridiculous. You never want to use perforated toilet paper.
Yeah, shoot, because it'll be tearing left and right through
all
here.
over.
Yeah.
Or doing this in the wind is really difficult, like
Right,
if it's very windy. But you basically want to feel like you can throw all of these in like a bin. And it can take a bumpy car ride or plane ride to the museum, and you're not going to risk losing anything. So
nice. That makes sense.
We just wrap it tight. And
so this is pretty standard for paleobotanists? Like,
yeah.
Everybody does it this way?
Yeah.
Nice.
I haven't seen really any other way, but I also haven't worked with everyone. So.
Right. Cool. So again, we talk about how we only have the most sophisticated and expensive technical equipment here in the field. There's an example of that right there.
I mean, there's only so many places you can buy industrial, a 2-ply, unperforated giant rolls of toilet paper.
Wow.
Oh, barely, but
Okay.
yeah.
1.9 ply.
It's like, yeah, exactly.
Nice.
And then the other thing that is different with like vertebrates is like I'm collecting this one leaf. Part and counterpart, it's going to be 4 pieces because the first piece was 3. And so, if you're working with vertebrates, you might glue as you're going.
You
But
don't want to do that for plants.
no. So if it's broken in 3 pieces, you wrap all 3 pieces separately.
Gotcha.
And then you'll just label them to go together.
So explain to the audience why you don't want to use glue on these.
So a lot of times, people use fossil plants for like chemical analysis.
Yeah.
And like cuticle analysis. There's like a fair amount of microstructures that can be preserved in fossil plants. You can see individual cells even.
Right. So you could mess all that up with some glue.
Yeah, exactly. It'll
Yeah.
just coat it and ruin it. And I think if you're like, a lot of people will use like a spray fixative, just because the leaves, they can like deteriorate pretty quickly. If they're like collecting for like their personal use.
Sure.
And like that's pretty normal and standard, but for like a potential research collection, you wouldn't want to do that. Sometimes, I don't really know all the rules. I don't feel like there's like hard and fast rules. if there's like a plant, like there's a couple of palms I've collected that are like just impressions of palms and like big chunky sandstone. Sometimes we'll glue those in the field. You don't want to get it on the surface, but there's really nothing left at that point.
That makes sense, yeah.
So yeah. Which is also why if you're collecting fossil plants, you don't want to like touch them with your fingers or brush them with a brush directly.
So you made kind of a lump there before you started wrapping.
Oh yeah. So this is a tiny piece of the leaf.
Nice, okay.
But
so you're just trying to add
typical.
extra padding right there over the leaf itself.
Yeah, so, and the main reason I do that is because, like, if you're unwrapping it, if you get to, like, here, and you're unwrapping it, you know that, like, you can see, okay, well, it's there because someone put a big chunk of something there. Plus, I just think that helps protect it.
Yeah.
And then you can just, then you feel free to touch wherever. So mostly it's to make it easier when you're unwrapping.
Because you don't want to get your fingers on it directly.
Exactly.
You could mess it up. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I've got a question. Why do plant cells get preserved, but dinosaur cells do not? Dinosaur cells do get preserved. We got all those trabeculae inside of the bones. Those are bone cells. It's just that it's a different kind of preservation. So, like, this is in a really, really fine-grained, like, really kind of consolidated, what would you call this, like a sand or a siltstone?
Yeah, I think it's like a silt or a mudstone.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry, it's not sandy. But, yeah, with dinosaur bones, they tend to be a lot larger. You know, they've got much more topography to them. There are cells on the inside that are, you can actually see the cellular structure of some of the bones. There aren't any organelles in there, but do you get preservation that's good enough where you can actually see organelles in the plant cells?
Not that I've seen. But
Okay, but it'll just be like cell wall, so just the perimeter of the cells, basically.
Yeah.
Like with dinosaur bone, yeah.
Stomata, which are like the pores that plants or leaves photosynthesize out of.
Nice.
For respiration. Those will preserve, and you can measure the size of those and the quantity of those to know like how productive of photosynthesizer it was, or like what the atmosphere chemistry looked like.
There was a really cool talk at Berkeley that I saw, I think back in the spring, looking at like the density of the stomata as a proxy for I think a proxy for like how dark the forest canopy was or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I don't know it directly. I'm just gonna try and break this rock down a little smaller.
Nice.
Which is always a risk.
Yeah.
But
yeah, being able to make these things carryable, I'm sure is
yeah, there we go. That
important. That's a nice leaf right there.
Yeah.
Is that the one we saw earlier or a different one?
That's the same one.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and not all plant fossils preserve cells.
Yeah.
I don't, but you know, you never know till you try, so you just treat all of them like it could.
Makes sense. Let's see. Rock hammers are beautiful things. You are that is correct, Erin. Yes. And sketchy tracks. Yeah, you get some sleep if you need it. Don't stay up too late. I know other people are watching from across the Atlantic, and it might be pretty late there. Yeah, we'll be streaming again tomorrow with any luck. Yeah. By the way, I wonder how many of you remember Whitney from when we were in St. George a couple months ago. Whitney was there with Josh Lively's crew. That was we went out to St. George twice. I think that was the first time around. Yeah. Yeah, and Whitney makes a really, really excellent curry. And that was like, I was telling you, that was the best meal that we had while we were out there. I thought it was memorable. You forgot about it, apparently.
The curry?
Yeah.
Oh, I always make that curry. Sorry.
No, you're good. Try not to let it escape.
I can use it all up and then it won't be a problem. When this roll gets little, it just blows around.
Right. Do you think you brought enough paper for today?
For today? Yeah, I think so. I hope so. We're about halfway through our paper and more than halfway through our day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, if anybody has any plant questions, I know we have a few plant people, but I haven't seen any of them show up yet in the chat. Like, where's Diagonal? He worked on fossils at Berkeley, I want to say. Worked on plants, I mean.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, if you've got any plant questions, today's your day, everybody. Don't miss out.
This is it.
Oh, we got a question. Were these mostly cycads and ferns?
No, we've got mostly angiosperm leaves, so like, you know, your typical like flowering plant, tree
Stuff
situation.
kind of similar to like dogwood or something like
Yep.
that in the Cretaceous? Okay.
Fig,
Okay.
lots of ficus.
Nice.
We do get some ferns and some like conifers, metasequoia.
Yeah, well, there was a beautiful one earlier that hopefully we can show you.
Oh yeah, you can see that
Yeah.
anytime. But yeah, no cycads yet.
Yeah, they seem to be kind of rare by the time you get to the late Cretaceous, at least up here in North America, in Laramidia. If we get a big raid with a bunch of new viewers, you know, I'll show the map again and talk about the Western Interior Seaway and Laramidia and all of that. But I think most people watching right now are already familiar. Yeah. Oh, and magnolias too. Yeah, there you go, Dr. Hubbs. Yeah, magnolias are around in the early Cretaceous. They're probably getting kind of common by this point. And do you think any of these could be magnolias?
You know, I really don't know. I feel like the way I was taught to look at dicot leaves is like not with a very taxonomic lens. Like, I think you can get really in the weeds with that.
Yeah.
So mostly what we do is like morphotyping, where we assign what we call like morphotype numbers based on like a set of characteristics.
Gotcha.
And then from there you can say, okay, well this morphotype is like, could be magnolia or something else, but
the
hard
morphotype
to
itself
tell.
is going to be important because it's like, that'll tell you about what this ancient climate was like, what the environment was like the serrations on the leaf, for the you know, the whether it's got a pointy drip tip or whatever.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
Yep.
And all that stuff can be kind of deceptive when it comes to phylogeny, right? Because you
Yeah.
get convergent evolution in different groups. Yeah. I'm piecing this together as I go, chat. This is trying to make sense of it as a, you know, as a dinosaur person.
And also, like, most of these plants we're collecting need prep. And so it's hard
okay.
to do any, like assigning any.
Just in the field, yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of prep will be done on these?
Just like with a, let me see if I have a good example. We could show them the metasequoia now.
Oh, where it's kind of like plunging into the surface? Yeah.
Just to break the rock off of the surface,
Yeah.
you use like air scribes, like
Oh, really?
anything
Oh,
else.
okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's like a different technique, you know, when you're, I don't know, usually when you're prepping like bones, you want to go like along the
Exactly, along the surface of it, yeah.
And when you're prepping leaves, you're just going straight down because you're trying, like if the leaf is here,
You're trying to just chip it off.
exactly, you're just trying to vibrate the rock off. You never want to touch the air scribe to the
Yeah,
leaf, but
because you'll just leave a big divot in it.
that's
Yeah.
how you chip around it.
That makes sense, yeah, yeah. Cool. Hope we're not distracting you too much as
Oh,
you're
no, this is
doing the
great.
labeling. But this is a good number of specimens. Nice. I still haven't found anything today that was worth wrapping, but maybe later. We'll see.
I stuck you in the worst spot, I think.
That's fine. Yeah. We got a question. Do you take lithographs from these leaves? I don't think so. You know, like a rubbing, you mean? No, there's not enough topography to these, right?
I don't think so.
It would
I mean,
mess it up,
I
yeah.
feel like, from what I know, that's like a pretty old method.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if we want...
We've got photography nowadays. We don't need to do that. Yeah.
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 Even like CT scanning leaves.
Uh-huh.
The CT scanners are good enough now. Not CT
Oh, really?
scanning. I mean 3D scanning.
Oh, okay, yeah.
3D
yeah.
scanners are good enough now to pick
Uh-huh.
up like vein
Nice. That's pretty impressive.
topography.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that rubbings would damage the leaf.
I would think so too. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I know this is not
No, that's okay.
entertaining.
We've got Fisher down there doing the same thing. We've got the animal world and the plant world. How many specimens you up to so far, Fish?
114 labeled bags.
114 labeled bags. And as Fisher was telling me, some of those have as many as 6 different specimens in them. So probably over 200 specimens total at this point, right?
Likely, especially considering everything that's in a vial.
Nice, yeah, yeah, shoot. Yeah, shoot, that doesn't even account for the vialed things, like the mammal tooth. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Olivia says, no, this is really cool to watch. I'm glad. Yeah. I want to show a different side of things. You know, I try and make the point all the time that paleontology, you know, I know that's kind of almost a stereotype, like, oh, paleontology beats dinosaurs. Paleontology, bacteria to fossil baleen whales. And plants are a huge part of this. And I think they don't get nearly enough attention in popular media and stuff. Yeah. No, I was talking with Whitney earlier about Bennettitales, these really cool plants during the Mesozoic. They might actually go back to the Paleozoic, too. And then I think they take a big hit, or maybe even disappear, in like the middle Cretaceous. And that's about the same time that stegosaurs disappear. Could there be a chance that the disappearance of Bennettitalian plants heralded the demise of stegosaurs too? Like, I don't know. These are cool things to think. All too often, I think, when we're looking at reconstructions of ancient ecosystems, especially like just paintings of dinosaurs, plants a passive backdrop. You know, like, let's just paint some green here and there, and who really cares? Yeah, I'm trying hard not to be a dinosaur chauvinist here, you know? Yeah.
It's convincing, at least.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I got into paleo on the dinosaur side of things.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, that was just like
yeah,
what we were looking for originally.
Uh-huh.
But it was like finding my first few plants, and like, I don't know, I think dinosaurs are really cool. I was never really a dinosaur kid.
Okay.
And so like I thought they were cool, but they're also like so otherworldly and like hard to imagine. Like, I can look at a gigantic sauropod femur, but that doesn't mean that like I can really grasp how big it was.
Sure,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But then like seeing fossil plants that I'm like, this could have come out of my backyard. This is like I've seen this before. I know what this is.
In your mind, plants are easier to relate to.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
That was definitely the appeal. And also, like, I can sit here and find 100 leaves. I'm not going to sit anywhere and find 100 dinosaurs in a day.
Definitely not, no. Shoot, you might spend 10 years digging up a single dinosaur specimen.
Exactly.
You could dig up 1 million plants in that amount of time and effort. Yeah. Oh, and that's a great question from Starmy. Thank you for reposting it, Lenina, because I missed it. So in order to name a new plant species, what do you need to have? Because I imagine a single leaf doesn't say much. You might be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
Definitely not a single leaf. I mean, people might try, but it's like, one thing I noticed when I started doing paleobotany is if you go outside to like your, you know, a tree in your front yard and pick up like 5 or 6 different leaves, they could be like wildly different.
You get a lot of individual variation among different leaves from the same plant.
Sizes, like some of them are, you know, skewed one direction or thicker on one side than the other or incomplete. And they're probably
vary season to season too,
yeah.
I would imagine. Yeah.
And you can go outside and pick like the weirdest looking leaf on your one tree, and it could look like nothing you've seen before.
Right, yeah.
Which is not something I really had paid attention to before. And also, thing like I've done when I like present to like about what I do, I have this picture of this tree, and I have like a seed pod, a seed, one leaf, and then like a rachis with like a bunch of leaves on it, and I'll and like a piece of bark and a stick, and I'll be like, how many plants do you think this like is coming from? And you know, they'll count them and they'll say 6 or something. And I'm like, oh, this is all from one tree in my backyard. So
there you go. Yeah.
So I think it can be hard if you do a few pieces. But if you have like a series of like that are like definitely different, or any other plant part that like are different, and you can, you know, see similar characteristics between, you know, a set of leaves and then like other similar species, and define what those characters are and like measure them. So with the like conifer that we're working on, I am comparing these cone scales to like others from the same genus, and you know, measuring the difference between like the length and width ratios and the overall like size and how many resin canals it has, and then comparing those to each other so that I can like put quantitative
cross-referencing.
Yeah. You know, what makes something different, and how can I prove that?
That's cool. That's cool. And complicated. Shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff that we have with dinosaurs as
sure.
well. Like, if you name something based on a tooth, it's really bad practice. And likewise, if you just have a handful of bones. Yeah, it's caused a lot of issues in the past. It still does, frankly. Yeah. We've got some responses in the chat. That's fascinating. I love this. Awesome. You would a little willow. You sound like a plant person yourself. Yeah, nice. Ms. Art Rules wants to know, in plant fossils, how do you identify what color the plant was, and if that's possible?
You know, I'm gonna guess green.
Yeah, chlorophyll tends to be green. That's very plant kind of color.
Sorry for the answer.
No, flippant answers are fine and keep things interesting.
Yeah, we can't really tell the color.
Yeah.
It depends on like mineralization. I mean, we might see a bunch of different colors. We actually have a bright yellow leaf back there.
Yeah, let me show chat that real quick. This would not be the original color of this leaf, but look at how yellow it is right there. So, yeah, the actual color of the fossils themselves is not a good indicator of what color the leaf was, you know, while it was alive. Yeah.
Cool, okay.
Nice.
Those are all wrapped.
All right.
Having fun?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, how you doing, Paul?
Good.
Yeah. Everybody, this is Paul, who is Whitney's assistant for the day, but he's a very accomplished fossil hunter in his own right. We were talking about trilobites and stuff last night, and Cambrian critters. And, you know, Paul has dug up all kinds of cool things, found a bunch of new species, all of that. So, yeah, we won't put him on the spot too much. Stick the camera in his face, but it's really good to have him here. And
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Plants here. Find a good place to put the camera down. And Truth, yes, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Thanks for supporting science outreach here on Twitch. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. And gosh darn it, I hoped people would stop talking about the scratch on the lens after I switched to a different camera with no scratch. People are still talking about it. Where's the scratch? I missed the scratch. Anyway, I found a backup camera, so the scratch hopefully will no longer be making any appearances, provided the camera doesn't fall down and scratch again. We'll see. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see if I can set this here. Speaking of camera falling down and scratching the lens.
Do you want to sit here?
Let's,
Trade spots?
I don't know. Where do you want to work? Shoot, you're the professional.
Well,
I'm just
you should
goofing
work
around
here
with the
since you
camera.
were complaining about not finding anything.
I hope complaining. Oh.
No. Not complaining. Commenting.
Okay. Yeah. Lamenting, perhaps. Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know. I don't have to find anything. I'm mostly
it's
just.
all good. I think I'm gonna try working.
Oh, okay,
this
cool.
out.
So I should work over there?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Let me set this over here. There we go. Try and put the encoder and battery position in such a way that it supports the camera. There we are. How's that? Nice. Big Tuna Neil wants to know, do you ever discover new living plants while fossil hunting? Yeah, how many new species of extant plant have you discovered, Whitney?
Oh, none. I wouldn't even know. I am not a botanist. My knowledge of plants ends at the Cretaceous and Cretaceous mass extinction.
That's interesting. So your background is primarily in geology then?
Yeah, I've never even taken a botany class.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm
cool.
working on it.
Okay,
I need
okay.
it. That's like what I need.
To be fair, I haven't either. Yeah.
You know, Danny, what impressed me was that she was just coming out of the field last year.
Oh yeah.
From like 2 weeks in the Netherlands. And Jim Kirkland called her to come out and do this.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember him talking with me on the phone about you, saying, "Yeah, we got this really bright student. She's working in the Netherlands. I think he said, yeah, she's working with Josh Lively." And I'm like, oh, "Okay, she must be pretty all right." Yeah.
He taught me everything I know.
So yeah, no, I remember that conversation.
That's awesome.
It was like an hour and a half long. You know, phone calls with Jim go sometimes. But
make that comment, and then I was like,
I'll make it. Yeah, but it's always a joy.
like typical.
Yeah. Jim might even tune in today. We'll see if he shows up in the chat. Yeah. But yeah. I should have brought my big scoop today.
Are these yours?
Yeah. Yeah, you can move those if you want. Thanks. All right, and I'll give you this. You'll probably need it, yeah.
Thank you.
And this too.
Thanks.
All right. So this leaf right here, these are pretty good. Do we want to collect these?
I do think so, actually.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I can
On
try and
the,
crack around them too.
Yeah, that bigger plant, or the bigger leaf there, yeah, I saw like a shadow of it on the other side, but it was like super poorly preserved. And then I brushed that one off and I was like, oh dang. So yeah, I mean, if you can break it down, we don't want to carry down something that big. And if you break it, then no worries. It wasn't
meant to be.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Thank you.
Fate smiles upon us. Yeah. Ah, darn it.
That's okay. Do you want to see if you can get that littler one?
Yeah, yeah.
Or if you like can break both down and you want to collect it into pieces. That's fine too.
Let's see here.
We need to
put my
talk
chisel.
about that little pry bar.
This one?
Yeah. You don't have to. Oh,
I'm not gonna toss it.
you could have tossed it.
Shoot.
I mean, I wouldn't have tried to catch it.
So let me show the camera real quick. This is what it was like before I broke it in half. There's the leaf right there. Oh, there's a chunk missing now.
It's okay.
But
It's not meant to be. It's all right.
I'll see if I can get the other part. But the rock is going to break where it wants to break. That's just how these things work. Makes me really glad I went back to get my sunglasses. I'm taking big flying shards of sharp rock to the face. Okay, there's some progress. Let's see, Snowdenchi wants to know, could dragging a tool around the area help? Generally not. The rock just kind of breaks where it wants to break, like I said. I mean, if we wanted to bring a rock saw out here, we could do that.
I don't think any leaf.
But, yeah. Kind of overkill to have a big gasoline-powered tool like that. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. Fossil leaves are important, you know?
For sure. I think it depends on the formation. We've pulled so many leaves out of this quarry in the past. I mean, last year I was only out here for a few days. This year I'm only out here for a few days, and it's been like so productive that like I wouldn't pull a rock hit or like a rocks out for anything out here. But where I've done research before in the Neslin formation, the leaves are much harder to find, and we've considered it.
Yeah.
Some leaves really are worth it.
And HTH says Danny, let's see. No, it's a pretty light rock hammer right here. It's 12 ounce, so it's pretty easy to do repetitive strikes like that. It's my prospecting hammer. I didn't bring my big one today.
This leaf pretty much in these 3 pieces.
Nice, okay.
Yeah, so.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. This is about to break into a 4th piece.
Oh, yeah, it just did. Darn.
What? It's not broken.
I mean, not being able to glue is like, that's...
Yeah.
As a vertebrate person, that's so frustrating, you know?
Yeah, sometimes a leaf shatters into enough pieces where you're like, not worth it.
I'm gonna get the camera a little bit closer so people can actually see. There we go. All right, is this still worth collecting? Now that I've got it pared down, there's a few pieces that kind of came off laterally.
Yeah, that's fine. If you want to like see if you can break it there, I would say yes.
Excellent.
Again, don't worry about it.
Nice. Would you let me wrap it too?
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Gotta collect fossil plants. I've collected fossil plants before, but never in like a systematic, you know, I'm thinking about how I'm doing this kind of way.
Where have you collected plants before?
At some of the sites in the almonds, so like we had some from Purple Puzzle this year. Some pretty nice leaves. I thought they were nice anyway. I don't know if a paleobotanist would think they're nice. I thought they were really pretty.
That's pretty much all it takes for me. I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it here. I'm not gonna get too ambitious. I think that's, yeah. There we go. Not too shabby, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Nice. Cool, let's go wrap that up.
Leaves out of that.
Just turn this way. Let's do some wrapping. Do you do clockwise or counterclockwise?
As you pull it up, it should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was mostly making a joke.
Oh, I was like confused.
All right, so kind of bunch it up right over the leaf itself, and then do you do underhand or overhand?
Follow your heart, I guess.
Okay. My heart's telling me to do it this way. Ah. Can I tie it back on?
You could just wrap it over it. It doesn't have to be tied.
I think this might be my, I don't know if I trust myself to do it the other way. There we go. This is not as easy as it looks. Newfound respect for paleobotany in the field.
We were making a joke yesterday that I must have been like a mummifier in my past life.
There you go.
In
Oop.
Egypt.
This is much less nasty than that, though. You don't have to pull out the plant's brains through its nose or anything with a hook.
At least not on camera.
There you go. Oop. Thanks. Don't want to be a litter bug out here. One corner here that's being really
We got knocked over.
troublesome. Oh,
The
thank you.
wind took it.
Oh, appreciate it. Thanks, Brittany.
Yeah.
Everybody in chat say thank you to Whitney for
Is that pointed
not
at
leaving
you?
you on the ground.
Is that pointed?
Yeah, that's
at
good enough.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
As long as you don't feel any sharp edges, you should be pretty good.
Okay, cool.
But
A little bit more on this side because it was still a little bit sharp.
I always
Alright.
lean on the edge of more versus less, but
Yeah.
okay, I lied. I'm right
Yeah.
there. I can,
Right there? Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, you're totally right.
That was at least a B.
Not bad for a first try, I hope. Where was that part? I'll find it. There it is. A little bit right there too. Okay. Nice.
And then you'll wrap it in like tape all the way around.
Just do a loop around?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Got my smooth surface for writing.
Yeah.
All right. Not as pretty as some of yours, but or any of yours, frankly. Yeah. What do you think, Paul? Is that okay?
I'm still learning how to wrap. Never good enough.
All right. Cool.
You can't use too much, that's what I know.
So we're doing the year 25
Okay.
and then dash, and then we're just counting up. So this is 27, and because it's in two parts, that'll be 27A.
25-27. Hey.
Perfect. Yep.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Check that out. Nice. All right.
How to do it.
Exactly. No, I'm sure it takes years of practice
Well,
to master this skill. All right. Let's apply what I just learned. So I want to bunch this up to go right over the leaf. Leaf is much bigger here on this one. I want to make sure that I go extra heavy over those sharp corners to help pad them so it doesn't impale its neighbors during transport. Pretty sharp right here. Tape this one. How's that seem? Sorry to interrupt you.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good?
What I would do?
Yeah.
Can I show you a trick?
Of course.
Sorry.
No, I'm here for it.
Micromanage. I have like these ones that are flatter. I usually go a couple of times.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Just like
Along that
totally
edge, yeah.
around the
Yeah.
edge.
Smart.
A few layers. And then,
Look at that skill there. Shoot.
and then, And then I just like secure it with a couple of
There we go.
layers.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, that makes
And
sense.
then that should be good. So if you have a lot of corners, it's a good way to
Uh huh.
get those
Beautiful.
quickly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So this is going to be 25-27B. Nice. All right. -27B. Not too shabby. All right. That is the first fossil plant that I've ever properly collected by paleobotanical standards, I guess. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. Oh, and we got a question from Murph. Isn't the PVA reversible? It is, but it will alter the chemistry of the plant itself. If that's what you're interested in, then that's the sort of thing that you don't want to mess up by using any kind of chemical on the surface. Yeah. Even just putting your fingers on it might mess it up. So we try and avoid that too. Yeah. And Kleindell's got a good question. Are both sites, the plants and animals, from the same age? They're not exactly the same age, no. I'll show you. We don't know how much time has elapsed between these two sites. Between the main Turtle Hill vertebrate site down here and then plant beds up here. We know the plant beds are younger because they're higher up in section, but we don't know how much younger. You know, it's about a meter above, something like that. We don't know how much time that represents. So, you know, we could say they're pretty much coeval, but you know, it could be as much as a few decades, or it could be centuries, millennia. Who really knows? We don't really have a good sense for like the depositional rate here. So there could be a lot of time elapsed in between them. Yeah. And does the amount of leaves and type of leaves say anything about the seasonal changes in their intensity 73 million years ago? That's a good question. Let's ask Whitney. Based on the plants that you've seen here so far, how would you characterize this environment, Whitney? Like, if there were like a modern day environment that you could compare this to, you would pick?
You know, I'm not actually sure what this environment is.
Uh-huh.
And I could be like totally wrong.
Okay.
So you're getting my guess. Don't quote me on this.
Let's get your hot take.
Well, my first thought was that this was like some sort of like low energy river deposit.
Okay.
Just because like, I don't know, that's where I've seen preservation like this.
Uh-huh.
But then we were talking earlier about, you know, the presence of these shells and the mud and it being like tidally influenced.
Okay.
And so that's
I kept saying
possible.
tidal flat this morning too. I don't know. I might be talking nonsense.
No,
but...
I think that's just as good a guess as any. I mean, it's low energy.
Uh-huh.
Well, the layers with the leaves in it, like everything is telling us low energy. The fact the leaves are pretty much complete, and you know it's super fine. But then these little higher energy. Well, I assume they're higher energy.
With all the shells, yeah.
Yeah, because those shells
mollusks
are broken up. I don't know. I don't know how to like place that.
It's weird, yeah.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if it could be like tidal mud flat and then you get storm surges.
Yeah.
Where you get all those crunched up mollusks or something. This is like what we're talking about right here.
I think that makes sense.
Is here you've just got this really kind of uniform, fine stuff. This seems to represent a really, like Whitney was saying, low energy environment. So a really calm stream or something like that. Not a lot of intensity to the water flow. And then you get this on top with all of these chunked up mollusk shells. And that, anytime you've got like stuff that's all churned up and crunched and pulverized, that indicates kind of a higher energy environment typically. The extreme of that would be like a conglomerate with big boulders in it. Like you need a ton of energy to be able to move those boulders downstream and deposit them. Whereas something like this is going to be much more quiet, tranquil environment. And you can get these changes where like you've got quiet tranquility and then this is right above it. So I don't know. The rocks can tell a story if you just kind of know how to listen.
Visibly and
Yeah.
but there's carbonate.
I'd be curious.
Charlie's Dragon says storm surges could make sense from my inexperience view. I mean, me too. I'm guessing here. I'm not a sedimentologist.
You're getting the leaves.
I'm not a stratigrapher. But that would make sense to me, I suppose. Yeah.
This looks different.
Here, let me go get some water real quick. I'll be right back.
That's why I went out the house. I don't think this is gonna fit.
Oh, look at that.
God, look at that.
That'd
That's
be
gotta
interesting.
be a marine influence, right?
Do you wanna?
Oh,
No, I don't want to talk about it.
no?
Here. We were talking about this last night. And
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that it's reacting.
Oh,
I
interesting.
wouldn't have guessed it was, but
Some
I'll
acetic
decide to
acid
try
there?
it. Yeah, hydrochloric.
Hydrochloric acid.
Is that
Oh,
the
okay.
same thing? I don't know.
It's not. No, acetic acid is like vinegar.
So we were just testing to see if it would fizz with hydrochloric acid,
Yeah, let's
which
put
would
it right,
indicate.
Let me put the camera right up to it. Yeah.
If it fizzes, it would indicate that it has like carbonate in it,
Okay.
and so we just tested it.
Oh, and we
it's
get some fizzing.
That's kind of a lot too. So
Interesting.
so that doesn't help me understand what's
Yeah,
going on.
shoot. So would that be?
Yes, a sedimentologist maybe.
Does that indicate potential like marine influence?
I would
Like
think
calcareous
so.
shells and I don't know. Yeah, carbonate.
You know, I think when I think of carbonates, I think of the ocean. But
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
I don't know, like, that's definitely not the ocean.
No.
And I don't think this is.
I mean, it could be like a tidal marsh or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe. You
totally.
get saltwater influence.
I think that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if this were like a tidal mudflat, that would make sense too.
I think that makes sense, yeah.
Huh.
You know,
Cool.
those fossils could really, besides the plants, could
Yeah.
really help there.
Yeah. Let's be on the lookout for anything
We're
else in
getting a
here.
lot.
Well, thanks, Paul.
Neat.
Isn't that interesting?
That is
But look at
That was
this.
cool. Thank you for that.
Wouldn't you look at this? How great the tan. It's in your shadow.
And Murph says, I wonder if you could get storms in the Western Interior Seaway like hurricanes. I bet you could.
So I think
Yeah. I talk about how the Western Interior Seaway is
look at
an environment kind of like the modern day Caribbean. You know, a shallow, warm, almost kind of like semi-tropical sea.
There you go.
I don't know enough about how hurricanes form and the conditions necessary to do that, but I bet you would get them in the WIS every once in a while, the Western Interior Sea. let me show people what I mean. Let me go grab that visual aid. I will be right back.
I remember this layer actually. I remember it not being very good. If you can break it.
Last. Oh, it's right here. There we go. Look at this. Here's something that I see that? Yeah. That's a giant.
So, what do I mean WIS, Western Interior Seaway? What are we talking about here? Let me show you. This is perhaps our most used visual aid of this season so far. This is a representation of roughly what North America would have looked like during the late Cretaceous period, around this time. So, this is North America. Didn't look like it does today, 73 million years ago. This is actually about 90 million years ago, but it'll still be useful. You had the Western Interior Seaway run through here. Sea levels were really, really high during the late Cretaceous. And so low-lying areas got inundated by seawater. And so you have this kind of shallow, almost tropical sea there. This outline here in red is the present-day state of Wyoming. So we're down here in the southern part of the state. We're basically right here on the coast. So the Almond Formation has been characterized as really, really low elevation coastal floodplain. It's right there by the ocean at this time. And so if this were like a tidal mudflat, that would make a lot of sense. Interesting that it's above the vertebrate stuff that we're getting at Turtle Hill, though. So there you've got coal swamps, you've got kind of like, you know, maybe a fetid pond or something like that these vertebrates are being preserved in. And then you might have sea level rising a little bit through here, and this area becomes more of like a coastal delta, more seawater influence, that kind of thing. Again, we're still figuring this story out. We're still gathering data to be able to try and make sense of everything that we're seeing. So, yeah. But yeah. And Murph says a lot of rivers and wells have high carbonate. It's more about running through rocks, I think. Okay. Anyhow. I'm pleased with how many people are watching for, today's Sunday, right? Yeah. 383 people watching right now.
Oh, wow.
Usually weekends are much lower viewership.
That surprises me.
A lot of people watch on company time when they're at work,
That makes sense.
which, you know, more power to you.
I mean, when I was doing fossil prep, I was just listening to podcasts. I guess
Yeah.
it's pretty much the same.
Uh-huh. Did you know somebody at the Prehistoric Museum is streaming fossil prep now on Twitch?
Yeah, Matt?
Yeah. I don't know him actually, but that's really cool.
Yeah, we were actually interns together in 2022 there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think he was hired last year or this year, I don't remember.
Uh-huh. But he was doing some Utah Raptor prep just the other day when I think we rated in that.
That's cool.
So, trying to get viewership up for that channel. We need all the paleontology we can get on Twitch. Yeah. And Lilith Spartan says, so 79 million years ago, we'd be on a day at the beach right now? More like 73, but yeah. I don't know what this exact spot would have been like 79 million years ago.
Definitely wetter and warmer.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about warmer necessarily right this moment, but
It is, of
overall
course,
warmer.
as we learned earlier, 109 degrees Celsius here as we speak, yeah. Just keeps getting hotter.
Every time we talk about it, it's a little bit warmer.
Yeah. Fixer Eye says, I'm a neurosurgeon and I love watching Twitch while working.
Whoa, that's crazy.
That's pretty cool, yeah, I'm sure that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not something you have to pay attention to at all.
Let's see, Deathsaurus. Oh, Deathsaurus wants me to tell you about the Prehistoric Kingdom video game where they're adding paleobotany soon.
Oh,
That'll be neat.
that's cool.
Yeah. Are you very much of like a video games kind of person?
No, but recently
I'm not either,
I
yeah.
got my first video game console. I got a Switch.
Very nice.
Yes.
Wow.
I played
You must be a
Stardew
millionaire. The-
I bought a
Aren't-
used stuff Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, you got the first one. Okay, nice.
Yeah, not the new.
The new one is like, yeah, isn't it like 50 grand or something? Yeah. I'm making a joke. It's not that expensive. But yeah. Well, very nice. Yeah. Any Switch enjoyers there in the chat? I'm sure there are. Is there a game that you like on there?
I played Stardew Valley for like, this is embarrassing, but I played Stardew Valley for like 60 hours in 3 weeks, and then I like
Wow.
didn't touch it for like a month and a half. I was like, oh,
That sounds
gosh.
like it might be kind of a typical pattern for Stardew Valley players, from what I've heard. I don't know. I've never played it myself.
Me and my partner have been playing It Takes Two,
Uh-huh.
which is like a fun, like 2-person video game, and we're almost all the way through it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. In terms of media, Whitney doesn't consume media. She's in media.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Oh. It came out last year. It was the T-Rex documentary. A lot of museums are still playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm in like the background for 12 seconds or something. But yeah.
I thought you had a line in it.
No.
No. Oh, well, never mind. Anyway, essential part of that film. I haven't seen it yet, but.
Yeah. Well, it was cool. They found, well, you know, they were working on a T-Rex,
Mm-hmm.
and above the T-Rex was like 2 meters worth of plants. And so basically for like 2 days, they just jackhammered up big blocks and threw them up the hill, and I just sat there rapping basically for 2 days.
Nice. That's really cool.
But yeah, it was fun.
Is this out in Montana?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Garfield County?
I don't remember what county.
Were you near the town of Jordan?
We were like barely over the Montana border.
Oh, from Wyoming.
From,
South Dakota?
yeah. Or maybe we might have been in South Dakota and prospecting in Montana. I don't actually.
Oh, okay. Does the name Ekalaka ring any bells?
Uh,
That town in Montana? No. You'd
what's
know
that
if you were
tiny
there.
town that was like. There's like a tiny town that we stayed at. That was like the biggest town in like the emptiest county
Uh-huh.
in North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Yeah, did I say South Dakota?
I said South Dakota.
North Dakota.
North
yeah.
Dakota. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of that town.
Well, I'll have to see that movie and then
Yeah.
I'll shout in the theater and ruin everybody's time.
Yeah, I think they've got
I know
2
her.
versions. There's like a 45-minute version and like a 25-minute version.
Huh.
And I don't know, like, different museums are playing different ones.
Uh-huh.
And I've only seen the 45-minute version.
Is it an IMAX film?
Yeah.
Wow. You must be like 50 feet taller.
Yeah. There's at least one scene where I'm like, I don't think I ever want to see my face that big again.
That's great. Nice. Yeah. Shoot, I should see if they're playing that in Salt Lake, because I'm going to be there for like a day before I go out to Michigan at the end of the season, or at the end of June.
They were playing it at the planetarium in January or February. I don't know
Okay.
if they still are.
Huh.
I would have to check.
I know they were. I tried to convince them to play it in Berkeley at the Lawrence Hall of Science, but I don't know if that ever went through. I was supposed to do some dinosaur stuff there at one point, and then they had ridiculous insurance requirements, so it never worked out.
Huh.
Yeah. Hornsour says, "This is amazing. I can't believe there's a paleontology broadcast. Not just that, the best kind of paleontology, paleobotany, looking at fossil leaves." Now, normally, we're doing excavations of dinosaurs like I was doing yesterday. I work on dinosaurs, but we're lucky enough to have a paleobotanist on our crew today. And so we're hanging out with her while she's here. This is Whitney, if you're new. Yeah. It's also Whitney if you're not new. Yeah, and Death Source. I know Walking with Dinosaurs 2025 airs tomorrow. I'm gonna see about maybe doing a special viewing party and seeing if we can stream that, but that'll require some buy-in from other crew members, so we'll see if it works out. Also to require that we don't have a thunderstorm while we're trying to do it. So
Is it supposed to storm tomorrow?
I don't think so, but you never know. Wyoming is unpredictable.
Yeah, sometimes it can get up to 110 degrees.
Yeah, Celsius. Where did they get that? Hornsour says, what's the most incredible thing you've dug up? That leaf was pretty cool a couple minutes ago. Sorry you missed that. No, the most incredible thing I've ever dug up, I don't know. I've worked on probably at least half a dozen new species of dinosaur that I've helped excavate over the years. Coolest thing I've ever found was probably in 2012. I found a new species of horned dinosaur up in the Judith River. It's not been described yet, but it's in the hopper. It hopefully should be a few years, and we'll finally get that thing out. I say we. I'm not actually going to be on the team describing it, but I did find it. Yeah. But I am author on a few descriptive papers for a few new dinosaurs, like Triararchuncus. Well, actually, I think just one so far that's been published. Triararchuncus prairiensis, little Alvarezsaur theropod dinosaur from the Hell Creek. That was pretty cool. Yeah. Hello. Was the horn not particular size of a Cape buffalo or something like that? So like a lot smaller than something, but for a new dinosaur, it's not the discovery that matters, it's the naming of it. Like, you actually have to publish it, and so you can find something new without being the one to publish it. Somebody else might publish it. I don't know. I'm not really an expert on horned dinosaurs, and so I don't feel bad about not being on that paper. It's just outside my realm of expertise. Yeah, again, hopefully it'll be out in the next few years and we can talk about it on stream. I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, generally when you go to publish a new taxon, you know, a new genus or species, whether it's an animal or a plant, if you're the one publishing the paper, you're writing it up, you get to choose the name. I'm sure there are instances where names don't make it through review, where like editors are like, nah, you can't call it that. But there are a number of different rules. I'm only familiar with some of the rules for animals. I don't know the code for plants, like the botanical nomenclature code.
I don't know them either.
But yeah, a few rules are it has to be a unique name, at least for the genus. So no other animal can have the same exact genus name. You can be really close, like just a slight tweak to the spelling. But yeah, it does have to be unique. And it can't be like offensive. You can't be like dissing another researcher with the name or anything like that. And you can't name it after yourself. That's one of the biggest rules. And it is an official rule too. It's not just like a norm that we follow. It's straight up one of the rules in the code. But you can absolutely name it after a colleague, and that's one of the greatest honors that anybody can receive, is to have a critter named after them. Yeah, my old crew chief, Denver Fowler, whom I worked with in the Hell Creek and the Judith River back in Montana, he has a dinosaur named after him, Ohoceratops fowleri. Yeah, a potential ancestor of Triceratops. Yeah. Ellis Ames has got a loophole here. Name it and then change your name to it. So you're naming yourself after a fossil critter? I mean...
That's a good one.
Yeah. No, Deathsaurus. Yeah, I'm familiar with Magnapolia. Big Paul's fat tail. I mean, I think that's named after Gregory S. Paul, right? Like, that's supposed to be an honorific. It's supposed to be... Yeah. And are the plant naming conventions the same? I'm not sure. I'm sure they're...
I think so.
They're probably pretty similar, but I know that they're different, at least in the sense that an animal and a plant can have the same genus name. So, plant named Tyrannosaurus that somebody did like as a joke.
Well,
So like the codes don't overlap. I know that. Yeah. Oh, and there you go, Hibiscus. Hibiscus is in the chat. They're not the same. We, unfortunately, meaning botanists, allow self-naming, but we openly condemn it. Interesting. So there's no official rule against that. Huh.
well then.
Your business, Whitney. Whitneya almondensis.
That'll be it.
Whitneya elegans.
Whitneya goofiensis. Sorry, Whitney.
You're good. I'm gonna go wrap this.
And Hibiscus says we also try to avoid using already published names for other unrelated organisms. That makes sense, yeah. Again, Denver Fowler, the same guy I was telling you about earlier, my old crew chief. Well, actually, when we were talking about our Alvarezsaur, we were at T-Rex, like the genus name would just be T-E-E-R-E-X. And that would be really confusing, but probably wouldn't make it through review, you know? Yeah. Oh, and that's interesting, Charlie's Dragon. I didn't realize Magnapolia was named for a member of the board for LACM. Huh. Excuse me. Yeah. Grand Bridget says, is there a second rule about, say, naming an organism based on reaching a sub-goal? I don't think that's explicitly in the code, but...
I think it was probably written before that was
before the advent of Twitch, yeah, I think so. But I don't know, they do come up with a new code. They update it every few years, or every decade or so. I've got one of the old books in my office back home. It's like a red hardbound book with the code from like 2002 or something like that. Yeah. All right, let's crack some more of these open and see if we get any leaves. Let's see here, will we get lucky? Nope. Interesting. Again, that change in lithology from this. We've got this really high energy, probably, bit in here, this little bed with all these chunked up mollusk shells, and then just this massive kind of blocky silty mudstone here. But let's crack it open and see if we get anything. Got a few little chunks of little tiny planty things in there. There we go, that's better than nothing. It's a little bit of plant hash. Did paleobotanists use the term plant hash, or is that too informal?
I used
You use the term plant hash? Okay. Alright, then. Let's see. Oh, nothing. 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 Well, at least the plant hash is in a smaller chunk now. Again, just got a little bit of planty material in there, those little specks. So the stuff is here, we just didn't have a leaf right there. Conditions were right to preserve it, but there was just no leaf. Kind of a shame. found there? I'm not sure, Murph. Hey, Fisher, you been finding any amber down there?
We find a lot, yeah.
A lot of amber, nice. Down there, yeah. You'll find amber in more like friable mudstone and stuff like that. You're not going to find it probably in stuff. I'm not totally sure why that is. I don't know what the reason is, but that's just my personal observation. That's how it goes. Ugh. Yeah, this does not want to break. So, down the hill it goes. I did make sure to look to make sure there was nobody down there before I started throwing chunks of rock. TV, how are you doing? Still streaming 720p. That's how it goes for, you know, streaming via mobile like this. If I were to get a 1080p camera, it would still be in 720p. You know, I'm streaming live via satellite right now from the remote desert of Wyoming. This is it's a miracle that this works at all, you know? But welcome to Forest TV. Oh, sorry, windy. Goodness. Yeah. But I appreciate the compliment, Temporus. Welcome to Paleontologizing. And Yia Dekilla says, how long have you been streaming? Today? 1 hour, 56 minutes. But when did I first start streaming? That would have been May 7th, 2020. So I've been going for more than 5 years at this point. And I've been doing fieldwork streams for the past 4 years. And it's been a tremendous privilege to be able to do this, to be able to show people how paleontology works in the field. Gone to a lot of cool sites and found a lot of cool things. The number of new species that we've shown on camera as they're being excavated is got 3 from Doling's Bowl, probably half a dozen from St. George, so up to 9. Got Ceratopsian, Hadrosaur, at least a dozen new species we've excavated live on stream. So, pretty happy about that record so far. Yeah. And Sarowan, we were just talking about this earlier. How do you distinguish between plant species in the fossil record when preservation is so often fragmentary? Yeah, Whitney was talking about that earlier. It's tricky. It's tricky. You got to be careful with that kind of thing. Yeah, plants can be troublesome in that regard. So, yeah, the more material you have, and the more careful you are in looking at it, the better off you'll be. Yeah. Yeah, what would be your ideal amount of material to name a new species on, plant-wise?
I think it would just depend on the
Let's say it's
type of plant.
Let's say it's a ginkgo.
Oh, I don't know.
Or a conifer. I'm putting you on the spot, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Experience that I've had.
Uh-huh.
And with the conifer we're working on, we're pretty sure it was a new species after only finding a couple cone scales.
Okay.
And now we have 50, and that high
Pretty big
amount
sample
of
size.
data is helpful.
Yeah.
I don't know how confident I would feel naming it off of like 5 or 10 specimens, but if they're like amazing specimens, or like, I mean, there's some fossils where it's like a branch with leaves and a fruit. That's obviously really rare, but you only need one of those.
Yeah, that makes sense. Got a lot of different parts all at once.
Yeah, or like a really distinct, you know, fruit. Maybe you would only need like a couple of them. Yeah. I might be misspeaking, but I'm pretty sure from what I know, it's really hard to name a new species off of just leaves.
Okay, gotcha. Huh.
But people, I don't know.
It's the same thing with dinosaurs. It's like, you really shouldn't name it based on a rib, but, you know, or one single tumbled vertebra that you pulled off a beach. But people do that in the Isle of Wight, you know? Yeah, shout out United Kingdom. Yeah. And holy cow, 238 raiders have just come in from Dynamite Twins. Thank you for returning the raid. How are you doing? Welcome back to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Shoot. We're here digging up fossils. I'm learning how to excavate fossil leaves today. Whitney's teaching me. She's a paleobotanist. And yeah. Let me walk you around a little bit and show you around, everybody. But Michael L8, Darth, the Credible Hulk. Who else we got? Mochi Mew and Dynamite Twins. Thank you again for the raid. I really appreciate it. Shoot. Let's do a quick little walk around, and let me show you what's going on. Pick up the camera here. Yeah. Do our little spiel. Let's see. There we go. Welcome everybody to Paleontologizing. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. Good old-fashioned science outreach. So as a paleontologist, I study dinosaur fossils, usually. Dinosaurs are what I publish on in the scientific literature, what I present on at scientific conferences, and what I dig up during the summers. We're out here in remote southern Wyoming right now, and we're at a site called Turtle Hill, which, as you can probably guess, is host to a lot of turtle fossils. Those are down here. But we've also got a bunch of other things too. And I'm just noticing the lens is really dirty. Here. We'll do it later. It's fine. But welcome everybody. If you've got any questions at all, don't hesitate to ask. Are they bigger turtles? They're pretty small for the most part, Dynamite Twins. Yeah. And oh, it's been dusty? Okay, let me clean the lens. Hang on a second. I've got lens wipes for a reason. But yeah, this kind of science outreach, being able to stream paleontological fieldwork from the field, has always been kind of a dream of mine. And I've been doing this now for about 4 years, I guess. I've been streaming for 5 years. But being able to do live streams from the field live via satellite, there's the dish up there. It's pretty cool. Here, all right, hold still, chat. Let me, here, hold still. There we go, don't fuss. Clean you right up. There we go. Is that better? Here's the Turtle Hill boys down here. Yeah. Josh and Fisher. Fisher's in charge of this site and about to let this blow away. Tisk tisk.
Yeah, I have to lock in a little bit with this.
But we've got, I wish you could have seen it earlier, but we had a fossil croc skull in there, we think.
Yep.
Fisher's working on protecting it.
Mound here is the bottom of it.
There we go, yeah. Nice. Yeah. So Oh, I was going to say, we don't have much, we don't have any dinosaur material from this site, but that's not true. There's a dinosaur rib that extends from right here up into there. Again, if you were here an hour ago, you could have seen it, but, we got to get these things capped and protected so we can bring them safely back to the laboratory. But, yeah, this area down here is not just yielding all of this coal, but also all kinds of cool microvertebrates. We've got bits of turtles, and we've got some practically whole turtles that have come out of here too. We've got a lot of fossil fishes, like fossil bowfin, Amiid fish, genus Melvius. We've got any fossil salamander bits, like Atlas or Axis vertebrae, anything like that?
I haven't seen any that are diagnostic, but it's possible.
But potential lizard elements and stuff like that. Even a mammal tooth, the first mammal tooth from the Almond Formation, from this whole geological unit. Bennett found that here a couple weeks ago, and we're pretty jazzed about that. That's important. So, really, really valuable, prolific site down here, yielding all kinds of cool stuff. And then just above is kind of our focus of today's stream, the plant layers up here. So, again, I'm a dinosaur guy. I work on dinosaurs. I think dinosaurs are really cool, but I need to emphasize that paleontology is not just dinosaurs. Paleontology is a study of fossils in general. When we're trying to piece together these ancient ecosystems, it's, we want to know what the flora and fauna were like. We want to know what kinds of critters in the underbrush as dinosaurs are walking around. We want to know what kinds of plants are in this ecosystem because that tells us what the climate was like. Gives us an idea about the amount of rainfall and just kind of helps complete the whole picture, Some people would argue the plants are even more important than the dinosaurs. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do here. So Whitney's peeling up some of these. Any plants come out?
Yeah, I don't have anything awesome right now. We've been wrapping the good stuff as we're going, but there's one leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, beautiful leaf right there.
This is
a little hard to
part and
see,
counterpart.
but nice, yeah. Put the
And
veins
then,
right there.
This one is even harder to see, so maybe I shouldn't even show it. But so it's got this layer of mud on it.
Oh yeah.
If you could see past that, there's like a margin here
that,
the venation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on both sides here.
Nice.
Yeah. Maybe
Cool.
if it was in slightly better light. I don't know if that pops out any better.
No, we can see it there. We can see the veins.
Great.
Yeah. Very cool. Thanks. Awesome.
And then there's still some up there. Oh yeah, on that.
Oh yeah,
rock.
we'll take a look at those in a minute
Better
too.
ones.
But first, since we've got a bunch of cool new people here who came in with Dynamite Twins. By the way, let's get another shout out for Dynamite Twins. How was your stream? I hope it was really good. Hope you had fun, and thank you again for rating in. I really appreciate it. Doing some cool IRL stuff, I presume? Yeah. Anywho, yeah. Let's do a brief little overview of this whole area. And spiel for the new people. So we're digging in rocks that are about 73 million years old. This is from the late Cretaceous period. And I've got some visual aids to help make all of this a little bit less arcane for you. So here, we'll use this one today. This is kind of a time spiral. So we've got different stages of Earth history with different colors here. It looks complicated. This stuff isn't rocket surgery. Here, I'll show you. Here we go. Earth first formed about 4.5 billion years ago. That's right here. And then time continues. This is not totally to scale. But we get along to here, the Mesozoic, the age of dinosaurs, this blue rounded, squash rectangle right here. Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous periods. The Cretaceous is green. We're nearly at the end of the Cretaceous period here. So we're relatively close in the grand scheme of things to today. That's at the end of this. So the late Cretaceous is, it's only about 73 million years ago. That's these rocks right here. Dinosaurs, except for birds, die out 66 million years ago. So we're about 7 or 8 million years before that, give or take. And what we call the Almond Formation. So this is here in southern Wyoming. Today we're at about maybe 6,000 or 7,000 feet elevation, 6,000 or 7,000 feet above sea level here. That was not what it was like during the late Cretaceous. This used to be sea level back then. And the ocean used to be right over there. I'll show you what I mean. A lot can change in 73 million years. This is roughly what North America looked like at the time. So you had the western interior seaway right there in the middle, kind of cutting North America in two. And that red rectangle there shows roughly where Wyoming is today. So we're in southern Wyoming. We're basically right on the coast there. And we see that in these rocks and these fossils. We walk along and we can see fossil oysters and other like marine mollusks and stuff like that in some of these rocks. And then it moves up into these terrestrial sediments here too, where we've got things like dinosaurs that are walking around on land. Yesterday we were at a dinosaur site. We were digging up a big duck-billed dinosaur. That was really cool to show, but I want to make sure I'm not being too much of a dinosaur chauvinist. I want to make sure that we're showing lots of different aspects of this environment here on stream. And so we're focusing on our fossil plants today. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, so this is beachfront property? Yes, indeed, Chef Maki. Yes. Like Lenina says, yeah, think current day Louisiana Bayou. Yeah. So again, down there at Turtle Hill, lots of fossil turtles, fossil crocs, fossil fishes. This is from kind of a swampy environment down there, kind of like a present day Louisiana Bayou, Mississippi Delta, that kind of a deal. So yeah, much like those environments today, this would have been flat. You would have had big meandering rivers coming through. You would have had coastal deltas and swamps and oxbow lakes and ponds and stuff like that. Wet, humid, probably pretty warm, this kind of environment. Yeah, think Louisiana Bayou, maybe some parts of Florida today, that kind of thing. Very different from present day Wyoming, where we're high elevation, basically desert up here. Yeah, very, very different. Again, a lot can change in 70 million years plus. So, yeah. And Landon History Buff says, I found some seashells, we were far from a beach. Oh yeah. The thing is, Earth is constantly changing. Mountains are going up and getting eroded. Continents are moving around. Climate is changing, and just nothing stays the same, basically. It's pretty cool. Earth is a very dynamic planet in that regard. And being able to trace that history over time using the rocks and the fossils, it's pretty neat. We're really lucky that we have the ability to do that we live on such a but yeah. And Catabel says, what do paleontologists think of them? They can be, yeah. Oh goodness, I know a number of different fossils that they were being excavated by scientific crews, and then like on private land here in the US, and then the landowner changes their mind and decides, I'm gonna bring a commercial crew in here and then they'll pay me for the fossil, and so that's then lost to science. That sort of thing happens much more often than we would like it to. It's pretty awful, honestly. Luckily, that's not something we have to deal with so much with fossil plants. But, things that unscrupulous, wealthy people would pay millions of dollars for, like dinosaur fossils, it happens all too often. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. And there we go, Jonas Halen, yeah. Again, yeah, when a lot of people think of paleontology, they think of dinosaurs. Paleontology is so much more than just dinosaurs, and I want to emphasize that, even though I am a dinosaur guy. Even though dinosaurs are what I work on. Yeah. But yeah, good stuff. And there you go, Alexander Morrison, nice. Yeah. And Duray says the breakup of Pangea was 200 million years ago, I think. I mean, that's part of it, yeah. It took a long time to separate. It's not like 200 million years ago, it just blink, it happened. It took a good while for that supercontinent to break up. Yeah. Anywho. Let me get some more water, and then if anybody's got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. We'll dive back into these plants. There we go.
I have a better leaf I was about to wrap if you want to see.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Whitney.
For your water break.
Yeah.
It's not perfect,
Oh, that's nice
but
though.
this is part and counterpart.
Uh-huh.
And the veination is really interesting.
That is really
It goes
nice.
up the center and then splits. I haven't
Weird.
seen that before.
Huh.
So,
That might be
We'll see.
diagnostic for a certain group of plants?
yeah, maybe. I'm not sure which group, but I'm sure it is
Very cool.
diagnostic of some sort. And then, because this leaf is recessed into the rock,
Uh-huh.
this will probably prep out and you'll get much more of the leaf
Nice.
than is shown right now.
Excellent.
But that's the kind of like preservation that we're seeing here.
Uh-huh. Very cool. Excellent. In 3 pieces, I saw there was a crack forming there.
Yeah, I was trying to make
Extra
this
work,
piece
yeah.
smaller and it
It
was a lot.
Nice. Very cool. So, new folks, I hope you're ready to witness a pro wrap some fossil leaves here. Very much an acquired skill. So how bad I was at it.
Whoa, yeah, you did great. A natural, really.
You're too kind.
You must have had some another life where you were also
Wrapping
A
mummies in
mummifier.
ancient Egypt, yeah.
yeah.
Are all of these going to go in your pyramid after you die?
Yes. Thank you for asking about my pyramid. I'm excited to tell you.
Every paleobotanist has a pyramid. Yeah. Anyway, I've been learning a lot today. This has been really cool. Let's see, we've got some questions. What part of Wyoming is this? I can't tell you exactly where we are. Esthonics, what a cool name, by the way. But you did 5 years of mammalian paleo digs in Wyoming and Colorado. Very nice. Found some pants. I assume you mean plants. But you never know in Wyoming and Colorado. Things on the road. Yeah, I can't tell you exactly where we are because we're trying to be a little cagey about that, given that the locals don't really know that there's dinosaur fossils in this area, and we'd prefer to keep it that way for a while so that commercial groups and fossil poachers and vandals don't move in. But when we get close to publishing, yeah, it'll be, the cat will be out of the bag. But for right now, I'll just tell you, southern Wyoming, kind of near the town of Green River, but again, that's vague. I know it says that up in one of the corners here on the screen, but yeah. And that's just like your opinion man says, how do you locate potential sites? Great question. In this particular area, we knew that there was a guy by the name of Barnum Brown who came here in the 1930s and ended up finding a bunch of dinosaur fossils. Here's Barnum Brown right here, the guy who discovered T-Rex. Was here in the 1930s, found a ton of dinosaur fossils here, never published on any of them, never named any of them, and this area was kind of forgotten for a long time. There were a few crews who came here in like the mid-2000s, I think, and they didn't find anything. They had really bad luck out here. Part of that may have been just the weather in this part of the country can be really, and I think they had really bad luck with that. But our expedition leader, Ethan Cowgill, brought some friends and family members out here just for like a little exploratory thing about 5 years ago, and he started finding dinosaurs. We know that these rocks are the right age to find dinosaurs. We know that this is a time that is not well studied. So it's scientifically very valuable, like this is the sort of place you want to be. So yeah, he came out and did some exploring and started finding bone left and right. And we've been at this ever since. This is my 3rd year here. I think this is Ethan's 5th or 6th. And just tons and tons of scientifically important fossils all over the place. It's been a real treasure trove, at least by our standards, you know. It may be no Hell Creek or Morrison Formation, but, you know, for a geological formation that was thought to be largely devoid of good fossils, we've been finding a lot of good stuff. All of it going to museums, by the way. I want to emphasize that. We'll talk about that in a bit. But you're probably asking, how do you actually find the fossils once you get to a region that you know is fossiliferous? The answer is called prospecting. So we basically, once we locate the proper age of rocks out on the outcrop, you just walk around. So you're looking for anything unusual on the surface, eroding out, anything that might be bone texture, something like that. And yeah, hopefully you pick up a piece and you go, wow, that's some bone. I'm not going to find any here right now, I don't think. But yeah, you find little fragments of bone that are eroding out of a hillside or something. You follow them up like breadcrumbs. You try and find the source, and then you dig in. And if you're lucky, you might have an associated skeleton there. You might have an articulated skeleton. You might have a whole animal in there. That's generally how sites like this get discovered. With plants, though, I'm sure it's kind of a different story. Like, prospecting for plant fossils is probably one of those things that doesn't work in exactly the same way. But I don't know. What do you think, Whitney?
I'd say it's actually pretty similar.
Yeah? Okay.
I would say, yeah, I mean, you're looking around for plants on the surface, which I feel like is pretty common. A lot of times they're just broken up bits, and then plants don't preserve very well. I mean, no fossils really do preserve very well once they're exposed.
Yeah, they tend to erode pretty quickly.
Yeah, but like with plants, like one good rain and you know, the film of carbon that was a leaf is not there anymore.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is like looking for the right rock type. You kind of get an eye for the type of rock that would preserve plants. So that's usually finer than sandstone, although we do find some plants in sandstone. And in like environments that would be low enough energy for it. So low energy, fine sediment, and usually like decently thin bedding. So if you're walking around with that like search image, you can start breaking into hillsides and seeing if there's any plants, or looking for plants on the ground, like you were saying with bone chips. Up to wherever the horizon is, and using that same search image. So I would say it's pretty similar. You know,
a lot of it is like finding the right horizon of rock that looks like it might hold plants, and then just cracking it open.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Whitney. Nice. D. Kazi says, I don't know anything about paleontology, but I'm absolutely amazed at the quality of the internet in the middle of nowhere. That's thanks to this thing. We don't really get much cell service out here, and there's certainly, you know, there's no T3 line running to the middle of the desert here, but I've got a satellite dish here running off of solar power, and that's where we're able to broadcast. And there's Josh down there. Yeah, there's the Turtle Hill gang.
Sorry. I can't help myself.
Keeping things interesting. Yeah. But yeah. Anywho. And I think the Jackery is doing pretty well. I should check on it just to make sure our battery is... Oh, who's calling me? Hang on a sec. There's our expedition lead right there. Put him on speaker real quick. On stream. Hey, Ethan.
Hey, can you put me over to Luke?
Luke's not here. He's over at Purple Puzzle. I'm at Turtle Hill today.
Oh, duh. Awesome. Well, have a good one.
Yeah, I hope you get in contact with him. I know they don't get great signal out there.
No problem. Thanks, man. Appreciate
Cool.
it.
All right. Take care. Yeah. We've got a big crew this summer. This is actually the largest crew we've had here in the Almond. We're consistently hovering around 20 to 30 people in camp. It's nuts. And so we're running multiple sites simultaneously. We've got the smallest crew out here right now at Turtle Hill. There's just here today. I think Paul and Ava are both off doing their own thing right now. So you only see 4 of us here at the moment. Yeah, and then At the Purple Puzzle Hadrosaur site, where I was yesterday, they've got a bunch of people there doing overburden and helping to jacket the bones that we have exposed. And then there's, I think almost everybody else is over at the Ankylosaur site right now, where we've got what is very, very likely a new species of armored dinosaur, which is, that's really exciting. We're pretty stoked about that. Yeah. And how far apart are all the dig sites? They're miles and miles away from each other, Rushway. That are pretty close, like the site is not far from Turtle Hill here, but for the most part you got to do a lot of driving to get from site to site. Yeah, Wyoming's a pretty wide open, spacious place, and so there's a lot of driving. Anybody who's been to Wyoming, you know what I'm talking about. And Starmy, no progress yet on the we've got that one on hiatus for the moment. But we're probably going to be returning to that either after the Purple Puzzle site is closed for the season, or maybe even before. We'll see. Yeah. And do you ever show what camp looks like? I will do that one of these days, Not an Otter, especially if we get rained out in the morning or something. After like a big rainstorm, we might not be able to actually make it out to our sites out here for excavations. So in that event, I will do a camp stream, and we might even do one sooner than that. In fact, we might even do that tomorrow night if we do our Walking with Dinosaurs premiere watch party stream thing. But no promises there. It depends on a lot of different factors. Yeah. Too bad there's no Taco Bell on site, says Kenny HY. I know, right? Not like in St. George. Whitney, how many times did you go to that Taco Bell? When you were at St. George?
I didn't go to the Taco Bell, but I went to the Beans and Brew every day.
The Beans and Brew?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got an iced coffee every afternoon.
Nice.
It was like 2 o'clock would roll around, and I'd be like, who wants a mocha?
Nice, yeah. Yeah, we had that shopping center. It was called like the Dinosaur Park, Dinosaur Tracks Shopping Center or something. It's literally across the street from the fossil site. Whitney and I were both there in, what was that, like end of April, something like that?
Yeah.
Early April. Or twice, 2 non-consecutive occasions. Yeah. Do you have a favorite Taco Bell item? Are you a Taco Bell gal?
I am.
Yeah.
I wish I wasn't.
I mean, there's almost like shame in saying that, but there's like so many good vegetarian items at Taco Bell that like, yeah.
I love a soft potato taco.
Yeah, spicy potato soft taco.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my go-tos. That and the cheesy bean and rice burrito.
Oh my gosh, literally, that's my order.
Yeah,
One of those.
They used to be just $1 each, which was really nice, but
R.I.P.
those days are gone. But yeah, those are the 2 things I usually get. And if somebody else is picking up the check, a wealthy donor, like a black bean chalupa or crunch wrap with veggie crunch wrap, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, good stuff. One of these days I'm going to get myself a Taco Bell sponsorship. Because I actually like Taco Bell. I could be an honest spokesperson. But yeah. And Gary Ankela says, was it a coincidence the Dinosaur Tracks restaurant was near the dig? No, I mean, those dinosaurs also just really enjoyed Taco Bell, which is why the footprints are right there next to. No. It's like that joke that everybody makes about Meteor Crater in Arizona. Like, wow, really lucky that thing didn't hit the visitor center, you know? It's so close, you know? Anywho. Dan the BC Man says, are they still excavating at St. George? I think they're on hiatus for much of the summer because St. George, Utah just gets hellishly hot during the summer. So I hear they're probably going to reopen the site in September and be able to move at a much more leisurely pace now that the city decided to not destroy the site. They decided to move the construction project a few meters over. So we're saved. Anyway, yeah. And, oh, that sounds really good, Beyond the Grave. The beefy 5-layer burrito, but swap the beef for black beans. It's killer. That sounds really good.
Is it still 5 layers?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, presumably they just swap the beef for beans. But yeah. I don't know. I've had 7-layer burritos before, and I don't feel like they were particularly well laminated. Like, those layers, they're not, those strata are not very distinguishable. But it does taste good. Yeah. You get both beans that way. Oh, nice. I'm going to have to try that. It was probably one of the more expensive items, I imagine. Next time somebody else is picking up the check, I'll go for that. And Estonic says, what got you into dinosaurs? Why not mammals, plants, inverts? Yeah, good question. I think, there would have been lots of opportunities for me to jump ship, I suppose. I'd always been intensely interested in dinosaurs since I was a little kid. Sometimes I joke that I decided I wanted to become a dinosaur paleontologist the very same day I realized I couldn't grow up to be a dinosaur. I don't know, I was just always really, really interested in dinosaurs. And then in high school, I started volunteering at the Museum of Paleontology in Berkeley. And my mentor there was a mammals and turtles paleontologist. Shout out Dr. Patricia Holroyd at Berkeley, one of my favorite people in the world. And she's not a dinosaur person herself. Kind of scoffs at dinosaurs a bit, as most non-dinosaur paleontologists do. But I don't know, yeah, she was very gracious and hopefully inoculated me against a lot of the worst aspects of dinosaur paleontology. But yeah, I don't know, I just had that determination. I want to work on dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are what I want to do. And I was lucky enough to be able to go to Montana State University and be mentored by some dinosaur paleontologists there. Go out and dig up dinosaurs, conduct research on dinosaurs. So I've just been kind of immersed in dinosaur science, the dinosaur aspect of paleontology, since since undergrad. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. You've been educating us so well. Thank you, Kenny HY. I appreciate you. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Nothing more variant. Yeah. Yeah. And Starman says, what are the bad sides of dino paleo? Oh boy. Why don't we ask Fisher that? Let's get some mammal paleontologist hot takes. Although Fisher himself might become a dinosaur paleontologist against his will as he goes into grad school this fall. He might be working on Cenozoic birds, which are dinosaurs, All right, Fisher, let's get some hot takes.
Sure.
I mentioned that sometimes dinosaur paleontology is, paleontologists who study other organisms, kind of scoff at dinosaur paleontology. Maybe there's some bad practices. Like, what are some of the less good parts, bad practices maybe in dinosaur paleo? As like a non-dinosaur person, what would you say?
I find the imbalance of attention kind of irritating.
Yeah.
Especially at like SVP, which is the big paleontology conference every year.
On your shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2023 in Cincinnati.
I didn't get to go to Cincinnati because TwitchCon was the same weekend. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
So yeah, you can walk into the theropod session or the second theropod session, and every seat will be taken, and there'll be people standing, along the back wall.
Yeah.
Everyone's here for the theropods, and like that's a part of that is really great that people are so passionate.
Sure.
But then you walk into like the fish or the amphibian sessions, and it's like the same 12 to 24 people, and there's not much, not much movement, either in or out, and it's like, well, those are interesting animals too that have important implications for the history of life on Earth.
Yep.
And, the dinosaurs are big and bombastic. Like poster children for the field of paleontology.
Sure, yeah.
But I think everything matters in this field.
Like
the whole Cenozoic is overburdened for the dinosaurs, which I have heard, as like a joke, of course, but it's
from me.
Oh yeah, the Green River Formation, overburdened. We gotta get rid of all of that so we can get to the dinosaurs underneath, so we can get one rib. And it happens in the mammal world too with hominins. Like people will go through 600 antelope skeletons to get a hominin tooth. And it's like, of course, that's really important for understanding our place in the animal kingdom and in the natural world and understanding our evolutionary history. But those antelope are interesting too, and such a huge sample size being basically ignored or just kind of shelved or pigeonholed into like this less important, idea it just rubs me the wrong way.
Fair, yeah. So what Fisher's saying is that it's sour grapes and the dinosaurs are cool, and then people get upset about that. But no. I mean those are good points. And but I don't know too. There's also I was talking about how when I was working with Pat Holroyd, she would complain about like bad practices in dinosaur science, where like naming a whole new genus based on a single like wave tumbled vertebra or something like that somebody plucked off a beach.
Like people in other areas of paleontology, there's less incentive to do that because there are less people clamoring for the attention. It's more of a rat race.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Again, it's the same in hominids too. Another extremely densely populated group.
And I think that also. It tends to draw different personalities in who might be a little bit more, I don't know, people who are a little bit more cutthroat. Like, you get people who, nobody's getting into fights, like in the audience, in Chondrichthyan fish talk at SVP or something. But that happens in the theropod sessions. Yeah, fair. Anyway, thanks.
Of course,
I'll let you get back to what you were doing.
Thanks.
But yeah. I don't know. Yeah, like Josh just said, there is sometimes some egocentrism in dinosaurs because everybody likes dinosaurs. They're really charismatic animals. It is the same with hominids, like Fisher was saying, and also other groups of mammals too, like Machairodonts, like saber-toothed cats. And sometimes you just get really bad papers that get published with a lot of speculation and stuff, and you're like, how in the world did this make it through review? But since it's a dinosaur thing, it's like, well, they're gonna publish it, I guess. And holy cow, we're getting a raid here. Well. Let's see here. 128 raiders coming in with Bike Curious. What were you streaming today? Do some just chatting? Beautiful. Welcome to Wyoming, where we're digging up some fossils from the age of dinosaurs. Not too many dinosaurs on this stream today, but lots of their world with them. We've got a here from a crocodilomorph. I can't quite... We've got people in our chat who would chide me if I said a crocodile skull, because crocodiles are a modern group, but like stem crocodilians, early relatives of that group. We've got a skull in here, we've got a dinosaur rib that goes along there, and then there's just all kinds of beautiful fish elements, bits of turtle, all kinds of small critters that are coming out of this horizon here at the site that we call Turtle Hill. And then the main focus of our stream today has been the fossil fish. We've got a paleobotanist on our crew for a couple days, and so we're taking advantage of this golden opportunity to pick her brain about fossil plants, and she's been teaching me how to excavate them. So yeah, everybody say hi to Whitney here.
Hello.
Yeah. So, yeah. We're gonna keep looking for some plants in just a minute, but let me ask if the raiders have got any questions. Yeah. Let me introduce myself too. Where are my manners? My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm here on Twitch, some good old-fashioned science outreach. So during the summers, I go out and do field work, and about 4 years ago, I started to figure out how to do live streams from the field. So we're doing that right now via satellite and solar power out here in middle of nowhere, Wyoming, and this beautiful, desolate country. This is a wonderful place to find all kinds of scientifically important fossils that we're collecting right now for the Cincinnati Museum of Natural History in Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah, this is what I did long before I discovered Twitch. I started digging up fossils, especially dinosaurs, way back in 2011, and I've done that almost every year since then. And nowadays I can stream it. And this is, believe it or not, how I make my living, is doing science outreach here on Twitch. This is my full-time job. So I'm incredibly lucky that I'm able to kind of do what I would be doing normally. You know, if I were a trust fund kid or something, if I didn't have to worry about paying bills or anything, if money were no object, I would still be out here. But I can do this and pay the bills via live streams due to the generosity of this community. and we can do some cool science outreach. The whole point is to show you how we do our work as paleontologists out in the field, how we collect specimens, how we gather data, and just kind of how we survive out here too. So I hope that sounds cool. If that does sound cool to you, stick around. Maybe follow, all that other stuff. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. And 93 degrees Fahrenheit. Doesn't feel that hot, Lenina. Nice sunny casual 93 degrees. I feel like that's probably the it definitely feels a lot cooler out here. I would say maybe low 80s. But I'm not good at judging temperature. And I forgot to put batteries in the thermometer, so I didn't bring that out either. But yeah. And Dikazi says, any wildlife give you trouble out there? At the hadrosaur site where I was working yesterday, we get gnats, and those are annoying. And then sand fleas back in camp. But luckily, that's about it so far. We haven't had any pronghorn attacks, or nobody's gotten mauled by a deer or anything yet, so I think we're doing pretty well. The worst is these bites that I get from sand fleas. In fact, I don't even see any. So we're doing pretty well there too. Yeah, and Starmy wants to know, what were the seasons like during the Cretaceous? It wasn't like it's today, right? No, definitely not. So it would have been probably a much more stable temperature year-round. Here in Wyoming, it might be 93 degrees Celsius, like you were saying. Right now, it's not actually that hot. It gets hot during the summer here, and it gets cold, very, very, very cold during the winter. This is just a wasteland, I would say, during the winter. As a Californian, I gotta say that. I'm from the Bay Area. We don't get snow there. So I would say this area is pretty much uninhabitable for 6 months out of the year. But not so during the Cretaceous. 73 million years ago, this area would have been, almost like the present-day Caribbean, or maybe the Mediterranean, something like that. Pretty warm year-round, I would think. Much more wet than it is today. There were lots of lakes and rivers, and the ocean was right there too. Yeah, very, very different. Kind of night and day difference from modern day Wyoming, Yeah. So let's see if we get a good one there. This wind is annoying right now, sorry. But some of the plants that we get here indicate that this would be, a much warmer, wetter climate than it is today. So let's take a look at a few of these good ones that Whitney set aside for us here. We've got some nice leaves from broadleaf trees here, like this. There's nothing like this in this landscape right now. It's just scrub brush and sage and ephedra, stuff like that. But back then you had these trees, you had ferns, you had conifers like metasequoia, the dawn redwood. No ginkgos so far, which is surprising to me. But ginkgos are pretty common during the Cretaceous, but they might not have been common at this time and place. But the plants and also the critters, the animals in this environment show us that this would have been a pretty warm environment, pretty wet, maybe pretty pleasant, if you don't mind humidity. Would have been frogs and salamanders and freshwater fishes, and you had crocs swimming around and dinosaurs doing their thing too. Yeah. And RB42 says, I'm from the north. Badlands are awful in the winter and summer and spring and fall. Oh, they're wonderful in the summer. Shoot, this is where I want to be, Honestly, given a choice between a tropical beach with a fancy drink with an umbrella in hand and being out here in the desert, cracking rocks and inhaling dust. Give me the latter any day of the week. Give me that dust. Give me those fossils. Yeah. And Gary Ankela says, do you ever make music to the metronomic sound of chipping? Yeah, we did that last year. I think there's some clips of that in Utah. Jacob Beck says, what are the white things on the ground? You're talking about, these are fossil plants that have been mummified by Whitney. This is how we wrap them up in order to make them safe for transport. Not like the leaves themselves are dangerous, but you don't want them crumbling. These are important scientific specimens. You want to make sure that they make it back to the lab in one piece. So that's a roll of toilet paper right there. So you wrap it up like a mummy like this, you label it, and then it's ready to get transported back to the museum. Yeah. Anywho. Gay Hibiscus says, oh yes, plant mummies, the guardians of Egypt, surely. Right you are, yeah. Yeah. And they're done a bit differently than the bone fossils. Absolutely, Lenina. Did you not see the wrapping procedure earlier? It was cool. I got to learn how to do this from a pro. And Stormy says, how would you study ancient climates? Do you go off the fossils, or do the rocks give you other clues? The rocks can be a clue, but honestly, one of the best ways to study fossil climate, maybe the best way, is by looking at the plants. You want to talk for a minute about that, Whitney? Like how important plants are for determining ancient climate?
For sure. So, there's a myriad of ways that people do this. One of the main things I've been looking into recently are cuticles. So, on leaves, there's like a waxy surface on, both sides of the leaf just to keep like moisture in. And we can take peels of those cuticle and do like chemical analysis on like CO2 and oxygen levels, and then as well as see the actual cells themselves and the stomata, which are
they're like pores, right?
Yep. Yeah. They're pores with that are bounded by cells, and you can measure those cells directly and how big to get an estimate of like what the atmosphere efficient that plant was at photosynthesis, and as well as like how much it was willing to lose water versus hold on to water, which can tell you something about the environment. And we also use leaf margin analysis, so we can take a bunch of leaves from one area and in short like count how many have smooth edges versus jagged edges, and jagged edges are more common in cold climates and smooth edges are more common in warm environments, as well as like how big the leaf is. And then there's lots of models that people have made over the years to like enter this data in and get like actual numerical values out of them. So
nice.
Yeah,
it's cool. And so in this case, even though these plants are extinct, you can use them as clues to determine ancient environments, ancient climates, that sort of thing, by using modern plants as a key, right? That's
Absolutely.
kind of, so you can correlate modern plants to their present day environments and then use that as a key for determining the environments of these ancient plants, basically.
For sure.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
And then kind of like a dumbed down way that I say when I'm talking to kids is like, if you were to find, a palm tree and a big giant leaf, versus if you were to find like a conifer and like a little bush with little leaves, like which one would you put in the cold environment and which one would you put in the warm environment? And that obviously doesn't work perfectly because there's warm weather conifers, but it just gets you thinking that like we already see plants and imagine climates, and we're just pushing that into the past.
Nice.
So.
Excellent. Yeah, well done. And it's sometimes dumbing things down works pretty well for Twitch chat too, Talking with kids, talking with Twitch chat. I'm
Whoa.
I'm insulting you right now, chat. Let me explain this. So no, but good explanation though. That was really good. Yeah. I don't feel like you were talking down to anybody.
A leaf here if you wanted to see a nice.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
one.
shoot. Yeah, let me get the laser pointer out.
Yeah, sorry. I was in the middle of cleaning my pile.
Right here. Green dot. Yeah, see those nice veins on it?
I think it's better.
Really
with
nice.
Some shade on it, maybe?
Okay, yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah, right here. Well, it's easier to see the pointer.
Yeah.
But yeah, really nice.
Yeah.
So,
and then it's hard to see, but there's a bunch of leaves.
Oh yeah, shoot.
It's just that
right
this
there.
one's the best one preserved.
Right there.
Get my face in here, sorry. It's a scientific method called blow.
I feel like in a physics laboratory or something like that, they'd have some sort of $1,000 machine that just blows a puff of air on it.
Yeah, I need that.
We just use our lungs.
I also have this one that isn't so great, but it has nice color contrast.
Yeah, look at
so
that.
this just popped out of there, and then this leaf
right here.
would go under the rock as well. But
Nice. So in the laboratory, you or somebody else might be chipping away at that scribe or something.
to uncover more of it.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Any plans to go to Cincinnati in order to?
Oh yeah. These are-
nice. Okay.
Yeah, I want to see these plants. You know, not in the sun and wind.
In a nice air-conditioned environment.
For sure.
In little velvet boxes.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. No. You know, when I was out here for the first time last year, the very first day, I was just so shocked and excited by how like awesome these plants were. I was just collecting everything. I would love to see like the people going like unwrapping them.
What is
going,
this?
Like, why did they collect this?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Man, I've been guilty of that before, especially when I was like one of my first years at Montana State, where I had a prep project and it was just like really crummy ossified tendon from an ornithopod dinosaur, and I'm like, who collected this? Why did they think that was a good idea? And then I realized, oh shoot, this is the first dinosaur fossil from Nevada.
Oh wow.
And they're giving it to me. I did not know how special that was, and I was kind of snooty about it, like just kind of snot-nosed kid. I regret that, you know. But anywho, yeah, it would be really cool to actually see these in the collections there.
Yeah.
I got to make it out to Cincinnati at some point too. Do some streams from there and see our friends from last year from the Cincy Museum. But yeah, good stuff. And yeah, you get so happy. Exactly, Bear Rex. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Oh, and Starman wants to know, can you see the stomata with the naked eye in these fossils? Or do you need a microscope?
You need a microscope, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, they're like the size of cells.
So they're tiny.
Well,
tiny.
yeah, I mean, like there's cells, and then there's big cells called guard cells that go around it. So they're still just cells, but they're larger cells. And I mean, you can. I wish that I, could think of. I don't want to say this wrong because I don't. Because they all have access to Google right now.
Exactly.
So maybe someone else should Google it.
This is my problem when I'm streaming. Yeah.
But I think that like 50. No, that's too many. Like 5 to 10 micrometers.
Oh wow.
That's the like
really darn small.
The like weird
the U,
symbol.
yeah. The German little U thing.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, I think so.
But they also like vary quite a bit in size based on species. So.
Cool. Thanks, Whitney.
Yeah.
RB42 says, I'm still disappointed that the first ceratopsian I saw didn't have horns. It was 35 years ago. I think they'd evolved the horns by that point, RB42. You're not that old. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Starmy says, Google says stomata have a diameter of 10 to 80 micrometers. Well, there you go, we're for sure. Yeah. Anywho. Excuse me, I need to drink some more water. Luckily, this is right here. Yeah, let me know if you got any other questions, chat. I've been impressed and pleasantly surprised with today's weather, too. We had some indication, somebody in camp was looking at their phone and said there was a big chance of thunderstorms starting around 4 p.m. And I don't see any of that so far. And sunny. This breeze is nice too, even if it's a little, keeps the temperature down. So, Yeah, we've been lucky today. Things have been good. Let's see. And Bear Rex says, "Are y'all staying here overnight?" Here at the site? No. So we've got a big camp set up a few miles away, a fair few miles away, that we'll drive to after we wrap up here. And cook up a big dinner for everybody. Then later we'll start a campfire and just kind of hang out. Last night was a lot of fun. Oh, by the way, shoot. Big announcement. Yesterday, I kept getting these text messages from Ethan saying, hey, we're trying to build like a night, so I want everybody back at 5:30 p.m. and we're gonna be, and he was just really emphatic that we really want to have a party atmosphere. And like, okay. Normally Ethan's not really giving directives like that. What's going on? So, we get back at 5:30, make some dinner, play some music and stuff, and then I set up the karaoke machine, and then I start to realize what's going on. Jim Kirkland had been in the chat earlier that day, and he said, let me know how Ethan's proposal thing goes. I didn't think anything of it in the moment, but I figured it out right before it happened. Last night, Ethan proposed to his girlfriend, Lauren, and they're engaged now. So big congrats to Ethan and Lauren. We had a grand party last night. It was a lot of fun. So huge congrats to Ethan and Lauren. I think they actually may have met out here in the field during one of Ethan's first years out here when he sort of organized this whole thing. And they got engaged out here, and they might get married out here next year. Who knows? That would be pretty darn cool. Birian says, that's the best, to find someone that you love doing stuff with. Exactly. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And then karaoke was a lot of fun last night as well. I've been in charge of that. I got a karaoke machine. I think I talked about this before we came out to the field. It was on sale, so I nabbed that Bluetooth karaoke machine with 2 microphones, and then I set up the satellite internet, and then my laptop with a projector, so that we could find basically any song anybody wants through YouTube, and then just put them into a playlist and have karaoke. We've done that 3 times so far this season. We're only like 16 days in. We've had 3 karaoke nights. It's we've been getting a lot of use out of that. Good stuff. Anywho, and Kennedy says Danny definitely got some color from the sun. No, I'm wearing sunscreen and everything. I don't know why you're saying that. But it sounds like a jam. It definitely was, Birian. It definitely was. It was a lot of fun. So things are good. Things are good. I think it's going to be kind of a quieter night tonight. Yeah. There you go, Crimson Carnithoris. Yeah. Charlie's Dragon says, I'm amazed you have the energy to do karaoke after a day of digging. I mean, we're all here because we want to be, It takes a certain degree of endurance and physical fitness to do field work, and sometimes people have to take days off. We've got a couple people in camp today who wanted to stay back because they weren't feeling up to going out and doing another day of digging, and that's fair. Yeah. And Snack Run says, do you typically reach out to the museums to join the digs? You're like thinking about going out and doing some paleontological fieldwork? Yes. In this case, with our crew here, this is kind of like an extended social network. So all of us who have been working on this crew out here in the Almond Formation, it's basically colleagues and friends and family too of Ethan Cowgill. So I met Ethan in 2022 when I was doing field work with the Utah Geological Survey, because I knew Jim Kirkland from years before. And then I reached out to him about doing some field work, joining one of his expeditions. And he's like, yeah, come join us. So I did. That's where I met Ethan. And then Ethan said, hey, come out and join us in Wyoming next summer. So I did. That's generally how this has worked. So it's kind of friends of friends and colleagues and some of Ethan's family members too. But there are a lot of other programs across the US and around the world that take volunteers with a more formal kind of application process. So for instance, the Badlands Dinosaur Museum in Dickinson, North Dakota, if you go to their website, they have a fieldwork page, and you can actually get a link there to their fieldwork application form. Yeah, I used to work with those folks back in the day, and maybe I will soon too. But and there's a number of other programs like that. In fact, I'm sure we've got some in the chat right now from those commands. There we go. Yeah, Hanksville Burpee, Museums of Western Colorado. There you go. Yeah. And Crimson Carnotaurus says, besides this, do you have to do a lot of work at camp? Maybe some paperwork? There's been precious little paperwork this year. It's been really nice. But there is work to do around camp, cleaning things up, cooking food, doing dishes, organizing supplies, refilling the glue, gathering burlap and plaster. One of the tasks that I did this morning, which is particularly onerous, is carrying up the big, like, 50-pound jugs of water from down by the road all the way up the hill across all these rocks to camp. It's probably like a quarter mile uphill. So I had 2 of those jugs. That's like 100 pounds of water. So I did my good deed for the day. Stuff like that, yeah. And Starmus says, what happens if you as a layman find a fossil that you think may be interesting to science? Is there a 911 equivalent to call your local paleontologist, or how does that work? Good question. There is no like formal system for that. Generally, you call up either or send an email to your local museum, to maybe if it's like a federal land agency that owns that land, is the steward of that land, I should say, then you might contact them. The Bureau of Land Management. If it's on state land, contact your state paleontologist if you have one. That kind of thing, yeah. I'll continue with this in a second, but what geological formation are you digging in? Asked Net Negative. The Late Cretaceous Almond Formation. Rock's about 73 million years old out here in southern Wyoming. Yeah. Very understudied formation, hence almost everything that we find here is new. It's really exciting stuff. Yeah. But I want to continue with Starman's question. Here's some advice. If you, as a layperson, are ever out hiking or something like that, and you stumble across what you think might be an important fossil, I'll tell you what you do. Take out your phone, take a bunch of pictures of it from different angles. Don't try and carry it away. Take a bunch of pictures of it in the ground, and if you, or I don't know, a quarter in your pocket, something like that you can put in the frame so that we can get a sense of scale, do that too. And if you really know what you're doing, you might take your phone and take a GPS reading. Or at least like take some pictures of the surrounding area so you can go relocate it. It's really important that you be able to tell people, tell a professional like where this is so they can go find it. GPS reading is the best if you can get it. And then send that in an email to your local museum, maybe to the Bureau of Land Management office if you're here in the US, maybe to the State Department of Natural Resources. Send an email with all that information, with the photos, and just ask, hey, is this anything cool, or who should I contact about this? You know, give me some advice. That's the best thing that you can do if you think that you found what could be an important fossil. Don't try and dig it up. Don't take it out of its context. A fossil that's robbed of its context is basically worthless. You know, if you were to find a beautiful dinosaur claw sticking out of a rock somewhere, you pluck it out and then you bring it to a museum and you don't know where it came from, not only are you potentially committing a federal crime if it's on federal land, but also maybe that leads to a whole skeleton. And also, like, we don't know how old it is. We don't know what age of rocks it's from. We don't know the geological formation that it's in. If you just pluck it out of the ground, it becomes worthless scientifically. So I hope all that makes sense. Context is like the most important thing for fossils. Yeah. RB42 says universities generally will have someone who can steer you. Oftentimes, yeah. Yeah. But Musa says, got to use a banana for scale. I mean, if that's all you got, that's all you got, you know? Better than nothing. Yeah. And 41RAG... Oh, hang on. Arigato says, then someone else will get their name for the find and you will get nothing. You'd be surprised how often that's not true. Holy cow. The number of dinosaurs that have been named, like, in honor of just regular people who happen to stumble across them. There's a lot of examples of this. Sometimes these people are like amateur fossil hunters who really know what they're doing. And sometimes it's just regular folks, you know? The story that I like to tell is of Kathy Wonkel, who in, I think, 1988, discovered, at the time, the most complete T-Rex skeleton ever found. The first one with complete arms. She was just out with her family on a Memorial Day weekend near her home in, I think it was Macomb County, Montana. She's a local rancher, and she found parts of a Tyrannosaurus arm. She informed the Museum of the Rockies, Pat Leegee and Jack Horner, and they said, holy cow, a T-Rex arm. No one's ever found a complete one before. So they sent a crew out, I think, the next summer, and yeah, it was named in her honor. Tyrannosaurus Rex was already named, obviously, but that specimen to this day is called the Wonkel Rex. Wankel. It's the same Tyrannosaurus that we have in our emotes. There you go, Lenina's got it right there. Yeah, that particular T-Rex skull, that is the Wonkel Rex. Named after Kathy Wonkel. There's a lovely video that the Washington Post produced a few years back, where, yeah, it talks all about this specimen, and it ended up being sent to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., and there was this big ceremony they did around it, you know, all kinds of pomp and circumstance, and they, like, officially gave her an award. I think it was like, was it a medallion or something? And also they gave her a cast of the Tyrannosaurus arm to go put up on the mantelpiece at home, like an exact copy of the real thing made out of resin. It's pretty cool. So again, if you find what you think is an important fossil, photograph it. Get a GPS reading. Send it to an expert if you can, you know? Might take a few emails, but you could be in a situation like Kathy Wonkel, where, you know, everybody will remember your name. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll see you later, Alexander Morrison. Thanks for being here. Yeah. And Arigato says, I will keep it in mind. There you go. Yeah, thank you. Anywho. Have I gotten a call like that before? I have, Starman, yeah. In fact, when I was at Museum of the Rockies, sometimes I would go upstairs. I'd be working in the prep lab, often, you know, like volunteering there, and then like the curator of the museum or one of the other people in the lab would get called upstairs to come look at some pictures or look at a bone that somebody would bring in. It's not ideal to actually bring the bones in themselves, but people do it. When I was there, it was never anything important or exciting. It's usually cow bones or, you know, a bit of a bison leg or something like that. Or somebody brings in some smooth stones that they think are dinosaur eggs. It happens a lot too. So it is a skill that you have to learn as a paleontologist working in a museum. Being able to let folks down easy. You know, be like, wow, it's very interesting what you've brought in. I can see how you would think that it's a dinosaur egg, but, you know, let me show you why it's not, you know? It's trying to be as nice as possible to people because you want them to continue to consult. You don't want to insult anybody. Oh, yeah. Anyhow. And there you go, Gabe. Giganotosaurus? Yeah. What if you've been called a living fossil? I'm not that old. Rollo Tomosi. Again, I'm 21 and single. Yeah. I've never been called a living fossil.
I don't think it should
Yeah.
be a numbering system.
And there you go, net negative, yeah.
Give it the same numbering system.
It is like being on Antiques Roadshow Cringe Balloon. It actually is. No kappa necessary. Yeah. Yeah, having to tell folks, like, yeah, I'm sorry, I know that your great-great-great-grandmother told you that this, this Nintendo 64 controller should be worth, $500 million, but I'm sorry, it's actually from 1999, and, retail value, or value on eBay was something like maybe $4. Yeah, it's often the same thing when people show you pictures of fossils. They're often not even fossils. We had a guy at Berkeley, actually, he was sending pictures of a goose pelt. He found a giant snake skull, but no, it was from a modern goose. It wasn't fossilized. And sometimes folks like that don't want to listen. You did not find a 100-foot snake. It's an elk bone. Is something you might have to say multiple times. Yeah, RB42. It's true. Yeah. And there you go, Snow Denshi. Yeah. And that's a great question, Alice Ames. How long can a fossil survive in the elements if it's not protected anymore by rocks or dirt? It depends on the kind of fossil. If we're talking about fossil leaves like this, not long. Like Whitney was saying earlier, sometimes one good rain and like a fossil leaf is just destroyed if it's on the surface. But then again, like those hadrosaur bones that I was showing you, the big chunks of like dinosaur limb bone that I showed you on the surface above the purple puzzle site yesterday, those have been on the ground on the surface for long enough for them to grow a good coating of lichen on them. So probably decades, maybe close to a century they've been in there on the surface. But they're still eroded enough that they're not of any scientific value. Yeah. It depends on how long a fossil survives after being exposed. Depends on a lot of things. What's the weather like in that region? Like, what's the climate like? How well preserved is the bone? Well, those are the main ones. But yeah. 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 And Aleppo says, how do you name a site other than sounds nice? All the crews that I've worked on, generally the person who finds the site gets to name it. And sometimes that'll be, I don't know, sometimes folks just give them a name that's like a, alphanumeric designation. It might be like A23B is this site. But generally, you want to give the site a name that's memorable. Yeah, back in 2012 when I found that new ceratopsian dinosaur, I got to give it a name. I didn't have much time to think about it. In fact, I didn't really have any time to think about it. Denver Fowler, who is my crew chief, was, writing in his field notebook and filling out the specimen cards, and he's like, Danny, give me a name. And I'm like, I don't know, give me a minute. And he goes, no, we're calling it Danny Ceratops. So that was the name of that site. But yeah, I don't know. I've had to come up with other names for other sites. There's a Triceratops site that I found, and yeah, I don't know why, but I called that one Count Dracula. I think we'd kind of run out of good Triceratops site names because there were so many of them. But yeah. Oh, and we got a raid here. Let's see. DS Koopa, holy cow, thank you for the raid. 381 viewers. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Welcome to wild and windy Wyoming. Welcome to a live fossil dig. I would say dinosaur dig, but we're not finding much dinosaur material at this site in particular. We're finding lots and lots of other stuff. So this is a site we call Turtle Hill. There's the Turtle Hill boys down there.
What is up, chat?
There's Josh and Fisher. And they're collecting a bunch of small vertebrate animals, fishes, bits of turtle. We've got what looks like a croc skull in there too that we're very excited about. So yeah, that's the reason why this site is called Turtle Hills. There's a lot of turtle material there. But up here, we got really lucky. There's also a lot of plant fossils. So we've got Whitney, our paleobotanist here, and she's been excavating a whole bunch of these beautiful fossil leaves that can tell us a lot about this ancient environment. Any good ones lately?
I just, like, 15 seconds ago pulled that rock up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a leaf right there. Look at that. Not the prettiest one in the world, but it's got
Nope.
nice veins on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in this,
Yeah.
like, coarser,
Yeah.
like, inner-bedded stuff, so it's
There's
not
a leaf
as
right
nicely
there.
preserved.
There's the veins on the leaf, you can see there. Really nice. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for showing us. So yeah, welcome Raiders. It's good to have you here. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm doing some science outreach out here. Paleontology is what I do in my normal life, and I'm lucky enough to be able to stream that and make my living doing it. So if you've got any questions about fossil science, about the history of life on Earth, about extinction and evolution, and maybe dinosaurs in particular, because that's actually what I study and what I publish on, then don't hesitate with those questions. That's what we're all about here. We're able to stream to you live from the middle of nowhere due to the magic of satellite internet. So that running off of solar power right here. Let me check on our battery level. Make sure we're not about to die or anything. 55%, that's pretty good. I'm gonna put the panel more like that so we get a little bit more sun on it. But yeah, good stuff. And was that a lily pad? I don't think so. No, that's gonna be from some sort of broadleaf tree, but I don't think it's gonna be like a lily. But we can ask Whitney in a minute. Oh, and I'm gonna pick up this rock to put under our solar panel, but look at all those fossil mollusks on there. So we get these beds of mollusks like this. And every fossil that we find like this is an important clue for being able to figure out what this ancient environment was like 73 million years ago, give or take. It's about the age of these rocks from the late Cretaceous of southern Wyoming. Yeah. Yeah. How do you pick a site to dig at? Where the fossils are, Morris Tao. Yeah, it's not like we go and dig in a random place. Well, there's a lot of homework involved at that first. This particular area, this geological formation here, like all of these rocks laid down about 73 million years ago, this is called the Almond Formation. And we've done a lot of exploration around here, found a lot of cool fossils, but the reason we knew to look here was because of this guy. Barnum Brown, the same guy who discovered T-Rex. He was here in the 1930s, and he found a whole bunch of really tantalizing dinosaur fossils here. Unfortunately, he never published on any of them, to my knowledge. He never named any of the dinosaurs that he found, and some of his specimens that he discovered and excavated were later lost, it seems. And this area has been kind of neglected ever since the 1930s. There's lots of other places that people thought were an easier bet to go out and find fossils, and they were right in a lot of cases. Barnum Brown also almost died when he was out here. The weather in this part of the world can be at times unpredictable, at other times downright murderous. So yeah, he nearly lost his life out here. It's an interesting story. I'll tell that on stream one of these days. I'll read a passage from a book. But yeah, anyway, nobody's really been back here since the 1930s and looked for fossils in earnest. And so our crew chief, our expedition lead, Ethan Cowgill, organized some trips out here about 5 years ago and started finding fossils. And the way that you do that is you find a promising looking rock horizon with a lot of exposed rock like that. If you're looking for dinosaurs, you find rocks that you know are terrestrial rocks. You don't want to look in marine strata, ocean bottom sediments for dinosaurs. Dinosaurs didn't live in the ocean. You want to look for rocks that were laid down by lakes and rivers and streams and ponds and stuff like that, swamps on land. So you basically walk along and you look for fragments of bone. You pick up pieces like this. Is that bone? No, it's not. You basically do that until you start finding stuff. You follow bone fragments, maybe up a hill, you try and find the source, you dig in, and hopefully you've got a skeleton. We've done that a bunch of times so far. We've got 3 or 4 different sites running concurrently right now. We've got a duck-billed dinosaur out over yonder that's being dug up as we speak. We've got an armored dinosaur, an ankylosaur, kind of over there, miles away. But we're here at this site without a lot of dinosaurs, but with lots and lots of other cool, important critters. Yeah. And Dyson Dinosaur says, wow, didn't know that. What kind of dinosaurs are there? Yeah. So Dyson Dinosaur, that's Italian paleontologist Filippo Bertozzo there. We've got a bunch of hadrosaurs here, Filippo. You'd be pretty happy. We've got a ceratopsian. We've got an ankylosaur. We know there are tyrannosaurs from this formation too. All the stuff that you would expect to find in kind of a Laramidian fauna from the Campanian-Maastrichtian boundary. We might even have a theropod, some articulated verts from a theropod potentially at the ankylosaur site. I don't know. That almost seems too good to be true, but they're working on that today. We'll see. Yeah. And oh, Jacob Bax has got a great question. Let's ask Whitney about that in a minute. Yeah. Dyson Dinosaur says I would swim there like Scrooge McDuck, but no money. Hadrosaur bones instead. I like that. You'd be very happy here. We've got how many different hadrosaur sites? There's Purple Puzzle with our great big hadrosaur. Purple Puzzle, Skull Ridge, T-Bone, the Dell site, the Lex site. We've got at least 5 really good hadrosaur sites. Some of them have preserved skin. Some of them have cranial material like Skull Ridge and the Dell site. In fact, the Dell site, that might be one that Barnum Brown dug at back in 1937 or 38. Because it seems like somebody had excavated there a long time ago, and there was a very old rusty bucket there that we found. We collected that last year, the dinosaur and Barnum Brown's metal bucket that he left there back in the 30s. Yeah. Skin and cranial sounds like bingo. Yeah, there you go, Dyson Dinosaur. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, I missed your question. Nothing more variant. How does the almond formation taste? Like dirt? I don't know. Doesn't taste like amaretto or anything. Yeah. Let's ask Whitney real quick. How in the world do you preserve fossil leaves? How does that work? You know? Can we bother you for a question?
Yeah.
Interrupt your concentration here?
Doesn't take much concentration.
No, you've been doing this for a long time. You're a professional. We got a question in the chat. How do you fossilize something as delicate as a leaf?
I mean, just the same way you fossilize anything. You know, a leaf has cuticle, which is like a waxy outer layer, carbon, you know, other things that are in alive things. And when you compress that between a bunch of silt, it doesn't have anywhere to go. So it's going to stay there.
Sure.
And
yeah.
There isn't any, like, besides the cuticle, there really isn't any original plant material left. But, you know, the carbon leaves an imprint. The leaf itself will leave, like, topographic relief. Think if you've ever done, like, leaf rubbings on paper with a crayon as a kid or whatever. All that relief is usually still preserved. So yeah, I mean, it just gets compressed and buried, and then if there's no, you know, if there's not a lot of oxygen or whatever, then it's not going to decay very quickly. You're not going to
have bacteria eating it and stuff. It's an anoxic environment where they can't survive. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Cool. Thanks, Whitney.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we've got some folks probably wondering what those leaves look like, and we have some examples right here. There is a lovely one right there. You can see those veins right there from this leaf. So we've got the part and counterpart right here. Here's another one right here. And big beautiful one right here too. Hopefully you can see the veins in that right here. That's a leaf 73 million years old, give or take. Nice stuff. Yeah. So hopefully that all makes sense. Yeah. And Lenina, you have a good time at the grocery store. Thanks for being here. And any signs of fossilized insects at any of the sites? Actually, yes, Starmy. Yes, indeed. Here, let's return to Whitney and talk about that. Any evidence of fossil insects here?
Yeah, we get traces of insects eating leaves, and there's different types of insects make different types of traces. So some of them eat on leaf veins, some of them eat from the margin in, some of them eat from the center out but avoid the veins, and some of them eat in like a spiral. There's a bunch of different ways, and we can see that in the fossil record, just like you pick leaves that are eaten by insects today. So we have evidence of the insects. We don't have any of the actual insect parts here. Just enough to.
There are entire like families of insects that I think are only known from the traces that they leave on the leaves. Or like we know that these guys were around in the Cretaceous period because there's that telltale bite mark that they make on the leaves, in the same way that that group makes that bite mark today. So pretty neat. The fossil record of insects is not the greatest in general. You find insects in amber and stuff like that. Occasionally you might get some in like limestone deposits and stuff, but for a lot of insect groups, the best evidence we have that they were around at a certain time is that we get those characteristic bite marks on their leafy prey. So yeah. The fossilized while eating. So it's not the insects themselves who are fossilized while eating. The evidence of their eating, their leftovers are fossilized basically. The leaves that they chewed up, if that makes sense. Leaf tagging graffiti, there you go, Pursue, yeah. And Ergo Wurgle says the age is inferred from the rock it is in. For the fossil leaves, yes. So the almond formation that we're digging in here, we say that it's about 73 million years old. There's a little bit of guesswork in there, but we know that it's around that time because we have good dates for the rocks underneath, which are older, and the rocks above, which are younger. So one of our goals for this year, we'll see if we accomplish it, is to be able to find a nice like bentonite ash layer. So when volcanoes go off, they spew a lot of dust up into the atmosphere, a lot of volcanic ash, and that settles down and then becomes like rock layers. The reason that it's important that it's volcanic is that there's radioactive isotopes in there. You can have those inside of zircons in the volcanic ash, and those act as like little time capsules. Zircons are like little tiny crystals that hold oftentimes radioactive isotopes, and you can test those radioactive isotopes to figure out how old they are. Because radiation is basically like, it's an unstable isotope. It's changing from one form to another, and it does that at a steady rate. And so if you look at it, you can tell how long it's been changing by the ratio of one isotope to another in there. So there might be a certain percentage of one isotope, a certain percentage of another isotope. That percentage tells you how long ago that rock was laid down. It's kind of like an hourglass. When you turn it over, there's a percentage, the sand up here versus the sand down there. You can tell how long it's been since it was turned over. It's the same with radioactive isotopes. I'm oversimplifying here, but I hope that makes sense. It's kind of a rough, simple explanation of it. Yeah. And we can't carbon dating is a kind of radiometric dating, but carbon dating is only good for like less than 1 million years. All of these rocks are far too old for carbon dating. We would use things like potassium lead dating or argon dating, stuff like that. Yeah, different isotopes. Carbon is too short-lived. Its half-life is too short. Yeah, Topes rule. There you go, HD and HB. Yeah, don't let them move to Albuquerque. And Starman says, what kind of sediment do you need to preserve an insect in the rock? You need very, very fine-grained sediment. So like really, really stone or something like that, you might get preserved insects. Or something like amber, you know, fossilized tree resin. So yeah. All right, Nick is here. Nice. How you doing, Nick?
Good, Danny. How you doing?
Doing well, yeah. Yeah, would you mind talking with us for a minute about what you were doing on the other side of the hill? This, I think, might be relating to our discussion that we're having about trying to date these rocks and figure out how old they are. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just on the other side trying to do a stratigraphic section, so isolate different changes within the rocks over time. And then we're just pulling samples out. Like I have a backpack full of dirt right now.
Nice.
And go back and do some isotope analysis.
Very nice. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, get some different ratios of like oxygen, hydrogen.
So these are going to be stable isotopes then, not like unstable isotopes we've used for radiometric dating. This is other stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So
what kind of information can you glean from those isotopes?
So for the hydrogen isotopes, it'll help us get a good idea for ratios of fresh water in the region, and like see if, you know, I mean, not to get too ahead of myself, but see if there's some maybe like morphological forcing of like fresh water in like environments of maybe like just a thought. And then I think it's a good baseline to start, is like everything needs fresh water to, and then just like oxygen, so comparing like 16 and 18 ratios to see environmental conditions, climate conditions at the time. Just to help us get a better picture of what was going on here when stuff was living here.
Important stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks,
So,
Nick.
yeah.
I'm excited about this. Like, it's going to be really neat to be able to figure out what's going on in this ancient environment. That sounds really arcane. It sounds complicated, but, you know.
If I can do it, anyone can do it.
There you go. That's not true, but I appreciate the humility. Fisher's right down there. Should be covered in coal dust with the sun helmet on.
Thank you, Danny.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Yeah. By the way, Nick has appeared in our chat many times before. No Liver is his username. So yeah, he'll occasionally show up and always brightens my day. See him in the chat. Yeah. Oh, and did we get a? Let's see. Did the satellite cut out? Darn. Oh, we're good? Okay, nice. Get some more water. How have you been, Ava?
Good.
Yeah? Doing some geologizing?
Yes, finally.
Nice.
I get to do it.
Cool. I'm gonna drink some more water. All right. Yeah, so let me know, chat, if you have any other questions. So they study ancient climates then? Yeah, Starmer, that's part of it. So I think Nick is going to be doing his master's degree on isotope stuff, maybe from the Almond Formation. It's super cool that like a number of our different crew members are going to be doing their theses on stuff from the Almond. It's pretty neat. This is such an understudied, underappreciated formation, and we're putting it on the map here. It's funny. Hopefully we're going to have just a whole slew of publications that come out in the next few years, and everybody's going to be talking about the Almond Formation. I know it's not a lot of folks know about it yet. We've had people come into the chat ask, what geological formation are you working in? Like, these are people who know a thing or two about geology or paleontology, and they've never heard of the Almond Formation. It is obscure, but hopefully not for long. And Kennedy says, can that type of analysis help determine the salinity of the water? I think it probably can, yeah. We can also tell that from some of the fossils. So, for instance, let me show you some of those nice index fossils, those indicators that can tell us about this ancient environment. So right down here, we've got these big slabs, and these are chock full of unionid clams. So, here's some right here. Look at that beautiful clam right there. Yeah, and these guys are freshwater. I don't think they occur today. The unionids are still around today. So there's modern representatives of the same group doing the same thing that these guys were doing 70 plus million years ago. But these guys here are indicators that this is like a freshwater environment with some flow. So this is a fluvial environment. This is a nice sandstone right here. And these guys are living here in flowing fresh water. But again, we're right here on the coast in the Almond Formation. So this is like a deltaic coastal environment. So sometimes you've got fresh water and sometimes you've got salt water. And a lot of brackish water in between probably. So it's important to like track those changes as you move up through the rock layers. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah. And and Jacob Back says, I'm from the Netherlands. Is there a chance to find fossils here, or is it just too wet there? Jacob Bax, I'm glad you asked. You're in luck. There are fossils from the Netherlands. Have you ever heard of a town called Maastricht? Is that near where you live, perhaps? I know the Netherlands is not a very large country. Earlier I said Campanian-Maastrichtian boundary for these rocks. That town of Maastricht yielded fossils that were so important that there's a whole geological stage named after it. The Maastrichtian stage, named after Maastricht. That is, where Mosasaurus is from. Mosasaurus is named after the river Mose. Mosasaurus is a giant saltwater lizard, lived in the ocean. It gave its name to the whole group, the mosasaurs. And the first one to be scientifically described was from the Netherlands, was from Maastricht, from was it a limestone quarry or a chalk quarry there? I think it was a chalk quarry. Somebody can look up the Mosasaurus article on Wikipedia and figure this out. But yeah. Literally a salty lizard there, Death Stars, yeah. And LS Ames says, in Germany and France? Yeah, absolutely. There's actually a ton of important dinosaur fossils from Germany, and there's some from France as well. Let's see, dinosaur fossils from France. The one that people in the chat might know about, if you saw that latest terrible Jurassic World film from a few years back, Pyroraptor is featured in that. There's no reason why it should have been Pyroraptor, but anyway, Pyroraptor is from France. It's not a very good specimen. It's like a fossil foot, but yeah. And Diana the dog groomer says, wait, this is so cool. Sorry for the caps, but this is insane. Glad to have found you on my recommended. This is sick. Welcome, Diana, to Paleontologizing. Welcome to wild and beautiful southern Wyoming. Welcome to a live paleontological dig here. I'm normally digging up dinosaur fossils. That's what I do. Dinosaurs are what I study. But we've got a cool site that's yielding all kinds of neat microvertebrates, turtles, probably lizards, lots of freshwater fishes and stuff. And then we've got tons of plants here too. Whitney, have you got one right there?
Do.
Nice. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look at this leaf.
So there's at least 3 there.
Wow. Leaf.
Right there.
A leaf. Oh yeah, this guy here.
Yeah, there's actually another one right there that I think is Gunnera. Uh-huh. It's the only leaf you can identify from like the smallest amount of leaf.
Gunnera. How do you spell
like
that?
Gunnera.
Nice.
It's just like really high textured.
Uh-huh.
And it's like the only one around that does that.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Gunnera. Sounds like somebody that Godzilla would fight. Godzilla versus Gunnera. Cool. So nice broad-leaved trees here. Pretty awesome. Yeah. So again, for all of you who are just joining us, Whitney's a paleobotanist. Yeah, she works on fossil plants, and she's been studying the fossil leaves here. We were really glad that she's here because nobody else really cares about these, even though they're really scientifically important. So
I can care enough about them for everyone.
there we go. Thank you again for your botanical service. Let's see. Gunnar is Biolante's cousin. There you go, Deathsaurus. We've got the Godzilla references going. Yeah. HDHB says paleobotanist. Oh, just like Laura Dern.
Yeah.
There you go.
An icon. The first time I went out in the field, I was like 18, so I was very silly. But I was like, I planned my outfits to look like
Ellie Sattler.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Shoot. That's really
I
neat.
did. So like the first dig, I think I'm in like a pink shirt like this and shorts.
Jean shorts.
And then someone was like, "Did you dress up?" And I was like, "Oh no, it's just a coincidence."
I always dress like
Yeah. I'm like, this is actually just my style. Do you think it's good?
That's awesome. That's cool. I'm glad to hear that Lauren Dern's character is like a revered figure in paleobotany. Yeah, that's neat. That's neat. Man, I had a huge crush on her when I was a kid. So yeah, I don't know, that Jurassic Park series was definitely influential to a lot of us, and it was neat to have a paleobotanist be part of that whole milieu. Yeah. And I knew Danny had it out for mammals. I didn't know he didn't like plants too. Wait, what? I wasn't trying to denigrate plants. What are you talking about? No, I'm doing exactly the opposite right now.
Dedicated a whole day.
I know, yeah. Like, we're doing a fossil plant stream today. I could be out digging up a dinosaur right now, but no, we're trying to devote some, time and love and attention to the plants. Yeah. HD and HB says, just don't let Whitney find a big pile of coprolites out here. Is that a reference to Jurassic Park? Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Stick my hand in.
Yeah. And Cowardly Brave. Yeah, Whitney right there is wrapping up some fossil leaves. That's how the professionals do it. I just learned how to do that a little while ago, live on stream. So each one of those little bundles that you see on the ground is part of a fossil leaf. And the almond flora, this plant fauna out here, this has not really been described yet, right? Like, are there any real publications on almond formation plants?
I think I found one on pollen from the 70s.
And that's it?
Yep, that's it.
So shoot, so not in 50 years has anybody published on almond formation plants?
Yeah, there's a couple of collections in museums that just haven't been studied.
Okay.
But yeah,
that's nuts. Wow. Cool. Well, you got your work cut out for you then. Darn. That's awesome. Breaking new ground here. Yeah. And thank you, Feist, for the 49 months of support. I really appreciate it. Thank you kindly. Yeah. And Scotty Photon says, is that cloth specifically made for wrapping fossils? Yeah, it's extremely expensive. So each one of these rolls is about $1,000. They're only made from the finest of silk toilet paper.
it doesn't ever break.
Unlike what we just saw right there.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I did that on purpose.
Takes a lot of training to do that. Yeah. How much does one roll like this cost, do you think?
You know, I actually don't know.
Yeah.
We got a box.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. We got 10 or 12 rolls for $50.
Okay.
From like a local cleaning supply store.
Gotcha, yeah. Like janitorial supply.
Online. Yeah, I bet you can get them online somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's like when I'm out with the prehistoric museum, they just take it from the janitorial closet, so it's free.
Nice.
Maybe I should say that. But
You didn't hear that, Chad. Yeah.
if you have a hookup or
Yeah.
if you're friends with a janitor, it might be free. If you're not.
Nice. So again, yeah, only the most expensive and sophisticated equipment do we use out here in the field. Like, Yeah, like this extraordinarily high-tech piece of equipment we've got right here. It's called a shovel. Use a lot of these in the field. Yeah, right now I'm trying to use it to keep my solar battery cool, and it's with limited success. Yeah. HD says that's why there's no toilet paper in the Wyoming rest areas. There you go. Yeah. Excuse me. Scotty Photon wants to know, do you do scanning of some sort before a dig? Yeah, with our eyeballs. I get this question a lot on Twitch, and I think it's because there's a lot of people really into this platform, particularly high tech out in field paleontology, just because, well, we're out in an isolated environment, way out in the middle of nowhere. We generally don't have a lot of money to throw around, and water or flush toilets or internet connectivity. Much of what we do out here in the field, we're doing it in the exact same way that paleontologists were doing in the 1870s. Over 150 years, we've got a few technological improvements that help us out. The internal combustion engine, you know, we've got cars and trucks that we can drive around to get to places. We've got more sophisticated glue that we can use on fossils. We have things like GPS, global positioning systems, digital photography, stuff like that. But there's no like magical scanning technology to be able to figure out where fossils are in the ground or anything. In order to do that, we walk around and we look. So it requires a lot of training. You got to really develop the right eye for this kind of thing. Sorry, that's my left eye. Right eye for this kind of thing. But yeah, being able to identify fragments of bone, if you're a vertebrate paleontologist, or plants, if you're a paleobotanist, those are important skills, and they take practice. They take kind of boots on the ground training. That's how we make these discoveries in the first place, is we walk along until we find bits of fossil that are eroding out of a hillside. And then you follow those chunks up until you get to the source, hopefully. You dig in, and maybe you get lucky, and there's an important specimen in there. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Funding must be difficult, make it work kind of thing. Exactly, Scotty Photon, yeah. We're all privately funded here, which is really nice. Don't get me started on how like science is absolutely under siege by this current presidential administration in this country, just like defunding science left and right. I'm not going to get into that. We don't really have to worry about that much with our crew because our funding is private. Some of it comes from like private donors that are associated with some of the museums that we collect for, and then some of that funding actually comes from members of this community. There's some people who don't really want to be shouted out, and I will absolutely respect that, but I hope they understand and appreciate just how incredibly grateful we are to them for that financial support that makes all of this possible. You know who you are, good folks. Seriously, we appreciate the heck out of you. Deeply, deeply grateful. Yeah, so anyway, ended on Quine says, is it me? I don't know, there was an anonymous donor, wasn't there? But yeah, there you go, Scotty Photon. It's dark time right now. But we're really lucky to be out here and to be able to share this with all of you too. These streams that I'm doing, I'm trying to do one every day this month. We've only missed one so far because of weather. But that satellite dish right there, solar panel and solar battery, and the cases that I used to lug these things around, these things I could afford to get them because of the generous support of this Twitch community. And I'm, again, deeply, deeply grateful for that. It's such a privilege to be able to do this kind of science outreach. And this is a dream come true, you know? It really is. And Murph says, chat helped buy tools and directly funded this dig a few years ago. Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about that in a minute if I remember. We're getting another raid. Holy cow. So many raids today. La Carpe Diem has seized the day and raided right in. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Welcome to Wyoming. We're out here in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the Wyoming desert, and we're excavating fossils from the age of dinosaurs here. From fossil turtles and fossil fishes down there at the bottom of the hill to fossil plants up here. We're trying to piece together what this ancient ecosystem was like 73 million years ago to give some context to the dinosaur fossils that we're excavating at other sites in the Almond Formation here in Wyoming. We're lucky to have Whitney here, who's a paleobotanist. She's here for a couple days, and so we're doing kind of a plant-focused stream today. You see all of these bundles over here. This is not some sort of drug-related thing, and no, those are not tiny Egyptian mummies. These are fossil leaves that Whitney's been wrapping up. This is how the pros do it, to protect these leaves on their way back to the laboratory and the museum. And we'll hopefully see some more beautiful fossil leaves come out of the ground in just a few minutes here. So welcome everybody. If you're here for the first time, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I study dinosaurs, I publish on them in the scientific literature, and I dig up dinosaurs during the summer. So we're out here in Wyoming doing just that, collecting for the Cincinnati Museum of Natural History. And I'm lucky enough to be able to share this with all of you via the magic of satellite internet. So, pretty cool, right? Let me know if you've got any questions. This is my means of doing science outreach, you know? It's cool because I can do fieldwork and outreach at the same time. You know, we can get two birds stoned at once, so to speak. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity. Again, let me know if you got any questions. Yeah. And let's see. Oh, and there we go, Beyond the Grave. How much harm do you think may have been done, if any, to areas because of poor practices, lack of technology, human error, poor preservation, etc.? That's a good question. Yeah. The folks who came before us, like Barnum Brown back in the 30s, that they could with what they had at the time. So, Barnum Brown was fossils and excavating them. But sometimes when they made it back, or on their way to the museum, sometimes they would get lost in shipment. Sometimes they would, you know, because transportation was really difficult back then. You know, you think driving all the way across Wyoming is difficult now. Imagine doing that in the 1930s. Sometimes fossils didn't make it back to the museum. There are lots of examples of that happening. And sometimes with less sophisticated methods of fossil prep and stuff like that back then, cleaning in the laboratory, they used glues that would sometimes deteriorate over time. They didn't have the advanced tools that we have, like air scrub, to care for. Sometimes things would get damaged. Sometimes if they're putting things on display, they would do the bones in order to be able to like make a dinosaur in a museum. Stuff like that. You had information that was lost, you had fossils that were damaged. We try to be more careful nowadays, but we've got the luxury of improved technology and better transportation, better documentation, better communication, all that good stuff. We don't necessarily have the advantage of better funding. That much has not changed for the most part. I mean, except for us here, we're doing really well. Due in part and thanks to you good folks here in Twitch chat. In 2023, my first year working out here, we didn't have the sort of funding that we have today in 2025, and so we actually ran a fundraiser in 2023 live on Twitch. We raised like $8,000 to be able to conduct fieldwork out here, and yeah, that was a really big chunk of our funding for that year. And then the year after that, last year, 2024, we set up an Amazon wish list with a whole bunch of different items that we needed to continue our excavations out here. And you good folks provided. You were very generous. And we're still using pretty much all of that gear even now. Yeah, this year we've actually had some private donors step up and yeah, helped us continue doing this work out here. So the funding situation has been evolving, I am proud to say. Really proud that through these live streams we were able to to help fund this important scientific work. And I'm deeply grateful to everybody who contributed. It really is tremendous. There we go. Absolutely, Murph. Yes, big salute to chat. Those funders, you know who you fundraising drives and from the wish list and with private donations. Appreciate you more than we can say. It's, oh, and glitch paleontology, without having to go to school for it, you could just volunteer. Yeah, it's not difficult to do. So much of paleontology is done by people who didn't necessarily go to school for it. People without degrees, without like academic credentials. So much of paleontology is done by people volunteering in museums, cleaning fossils and curating specimens, by people volunteering on field crews, helping to excavate fossils and collect data. Every single person on our crew this year is a volunteer. Nobody is out here getting paid for this work, except maybe me, but I'm getting paid to stream from you good folks. Thank you for that. I can afford to pay the bills. But yeah, none of us are getting paid to do this. And we always need volunteer labor. There's lots and lots of field crews across the country and around the world who they would not be able to do what they do without the help of volunteers. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, if you might want to get involved with paleontology, there are so many opportunities for you, especially if you happen to live near a museum, or if you can get yourself out to a field site during the summer. Yeah, there are people who could really use your help in working on fossils, for certain. So my best piece of advice would be get in contact with your local museum, do some internet searches, see if anything in your region is going on. Yeah, it's when it comes to volunteering on a field crew, it often, it's often like who you know. So start trying to make friends with paleontologists, or do some searching around online, see if you can find application forms and stuff like that. They're out there, and we've got a few in the chat right now. Actually, the people are doing that. Omnisil says that would be amazing. Absolutely, yeah. Shoot, just a couple months ago, when I was in St. George, Utah, we were having that emergency fossil dig out there, and there were like half a dozen members of the paleontologizing community, people from Chad, who showed up to help with the excavation. And I think for all of them, it was their first time ever doing anything, actually like within the realm of paleontology, actually conducting field work, gathering data, that kind of thing. Yeah, it was cool being able to meet folks that I'd seen here in the chat, being able to meet them in person and dig alongside them down in St. George, Utah. It's pretty neat. Yeah. And Glitch the Feline says, we have a small natural history museum here I would love to work with. Get in contact with them, absolutely. They could probably use your help. Oh, and that's really neat. Conical Bell says, when I was 15, the Girl Scouts had some land near 10 Sleep, and one area had an active dig that we girls were allowed to work on for an afternoon. It was very cool. That's awesome. Yeah. It's something really special to be able to participate in something like this, To be able to go out to a dig site and collect some specimens, hang out with paleontologists. You see what the work is really like in person. It's pretty special. Like, that can be life-changing for some people. Not everybody has the wherewithal to be able to go out and do that, though. There are folks that live in areas where this sort of thing isn't accessible to them. There are folks who maybe can't afford to travel. There are folks who, they've got a day job that they've got to go to every single day. There are folks with disabilities who can't make it out to a field site. And so I kind of look at these streams as a way to help show you what this is like, hopefully make you feel like you're really here, give you a taste for what it's all about. If you can't make it out to a field site, if you can't go out and do field work, I'm hoping this is the next best thing. Trying to inspire and educate and, show you what paleontology is all about in the field. Omnicil says, how long is a typical volunteer stint? It depends what crew you work with. If you're contacting a field crew and you say, hey, I'd like to show up and help, if you can be there for the whole duration, they're more likely to say yes, because it takes a while to kind of train people up and get them up to speed on things. If you're going to be out for a day, you might not actually be much help, but maybe you can go visit a site at least. So there is no like typical volunteer stint. We've got volunteers on our crew this year who are out for the entire 32 days of our work here in Wyoming. I'm out for the entire 32-day stint. And then we've got people who are coming in for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 days. Maybe they've been previously trained and so they can just hit the ground running. But yeah, a week is generally like, that's what you want to start with, if you can manage it. At least a week. And Moo Hoodles, how are you doing? Welcome, Moo. It's good to see you. I hope your streams have been going well, Moo Hoodles. Welcome back. If anybody's not yet following Moo Hoodles, she does some really cool science outreach on her stream as well, on her channel. Focused mostly on like astronomy, space stuff. If that sort of thing tickles your fancy, go give Moo Hoodles a follow. She does good work. She got to do a stream with NASA recently. What was that, like last fall, I think? Or yeah, maybe it was more recently than that. But she actually got to go out to some NASA facilities and meet with NASA folks and stream it. That was really, really cool. I got to catch some of it. Yeah. And let's see. Chaotic Kitten says, I really appreciate your streams. I don't drive, and even though I'm kind of close to the Royal Tyrrell Dinosaur Museum and a lot of dig sites, I have no way to get to them. I understand that, yeah. And a lot of folks have got stories like that. And, you know, that's a thing. And I'm lucky enough to be able to drive all over hither and yon, to drive here from the San Francisco Bay Area all the way out to Wyoming to go out and dig dinosaurs for over a month. Not everybody has the wherewithal to do that, and so this is my way of sharing this with you. And I'm glad it's meaningful to some folks. You know, yeah. Well, it was in October. Very nice, Mahoodles. Yeah, that was really cool to see. Yeah. And Omnicil, thank you for the Prime sub. I really appreciate that. Thank you kindly. Yeah. Speaking of like short durations, Whitney's only here for a few days for this season. We might be able to convince her to come back out, but yeah, we'll see. But you know, she knows what she's doing. She's done a ton of field work, and she's our resident plant expert. So, you know, she could be out here for 6 hours, and we'd still be happy to have her. Luckily, it's a few days at least. Let me get some more water here real quick. Yapping. I lose a lot of moisture doing this. Ah, 6 o'clock, wow. I'm gonna talk to Fisher about how long we want to stay tonight. Yeah. And nothing more variants. Love to volunteer a week of labor once you come back here to the East Bay. We'll see, nothing more. We'll see. I don't know how much opportunity there will be for volunteers. If you want to get in contact with some of the museums in the Bay Area, stuff there, yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Maybe we can take a peek at Josh's notes there. See what he's working on.
Yeah, nothing good.
No? Okay.
I wrote collected and bagged fish specimens.
Oh, okay, gotcha. You're not taking notes on the lithology or something like that?
No, nothing interesting.
Yeah.
I tried to find the bentonite.
Uh-huh.
I walked by it twice over there.
Yeah?
And it's around. It looks like the same lithology as the one by Purple Puzzle.
Oh, so it's probably not bentonite? Or not an ash at least?
I mean, if it's here and at Purple Puzzle,
then it could be an ash?
It might be, but I'm not the guy to ask.
Gotcha. That would be super, super cool to get a bentonitic ash.
Yeah. Our professor did some analysis of what he collected over there.
Oh, yeah?
Found some zircons.
Oh, heck yes.
Yeah,
oh, man.
So that's good news.
I had no idea. So
yeah.
Ray found some zircons.
He found zircons, yeah.
Holy cow, that's exciting. I didn't know that.
So, yeah.
So we might get a solid date for the almond formation. That would be brilliant. Holy moly.
Pretty cool. So I think he wanted us to get a couple more gallon bags of the sample just to have.
Nice. All right. Beautiful. Oh man, I'm thrilled about that. So we've been saying about 73 million years old for these rocks, but we don't have like an exact hard and firm date. Yeah, to be able to get that would be killer. Yeah. We wrapping up here, Fisher?
I think pretty soon, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. That is super exciting. Holy cow! To be able to get some zircons, get some radiometric dates for the almond formation. That would be a publication in and of itself. And yeah, finally have a precise date for how old these rocks are, how old all the critters are in them, and the plants, dinosaurs, everything else. So here, we've got these fossil plants being packed away into rucksacks. I've got some room in my bag too, if we want.
Alright, I think we're good actually.
All right.
Paul took a big load down. I can take one more.
Nice. How many specimens is that today?
I don't know. We have we're at like the count of 32.
Okay.
But most of them have like 2 to 5 pieces. So
Nice.
I don't know.
So we've got probably a solid 50 plant specimens in there, something like
At
that.
least, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of those rocks have more than one leaf on it.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So-
That's really exciting.
I don't have a count for sure.
Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. You'll have to come back out here later. Shoot.
Well, I'll be here tomorrow. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
And then I might come out the last weekend you're here.
That would be really
depending.
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
If
Awesome.
My partner can. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I've traveled so much the last couple months.
I mean, paleontologists, we're worse than sailors, you know? Like, yeah, we're just gone for so long.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to wrap up the stream, but thank you again, Whitney. Do you want
Yeah.
to say goodbye to everybody?
Goodbye. Thank you all. Did you show them the metasequoia before I wrap
Oh,
it up?
shoot. Let's see that as a nice send-off here.
Move here.
Look at that. Holy cow, that's the prettiest one I've seen all day. Really, really nice. This is from a conifer, kind of a redwood type, you know, like evergreen tree. Beautiful. Look at that right there. Little
We
needles
have
on
some little cones too, like this big. We have a few.
it. Nice.
So,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Oh, oops. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Thanks again
Yeah,
for showing.
thank you.
What a cool note to wrap up the stream on. Beautiful metasequoia. That's dawn redwood. Yeah, a genus of plant that was thought to be extinct until some were discovered in China, if memory serves. So they're still around. They've been around since the Cretaceous period. Really cool. Makes it easy when you've got a modern representative of your group where you go like, what was this organism like? Oh, well, we have one around today. We could study that. Get some clues. Anywho, really neat. That's a nice way to wrap things up. Let's see who else is live on Twitch right now. We'll raid in, and then I can pack up my gear and head back down to my car. Let's see. There we go. Following. Who is on right now? Hoot House live stream, Racodactylus, Paleo stream. Oh, Yogurt Garrel is on. Well. One of my moderators and really cool person all the way around. Yogurt Garrel was my camera woman for TwitchCon, for my Velociraptor puppet stream. Oh, puppet, what am I talking about? My live Velociraptor stream. Here we go. Let's go raid into Yogurt Garrel. She's doing an IRL walk right now, looking at some birds and stuff. Raid. Yogurt Garrel. Kapow. There we go. Excellent. Thank you everybody for everything today. Enormous, prolific raids. Copious raids. Really appreciate that. And to all the folks who raided in, streamers, thank you for bringing your viewers here. I really appreciate it. It really helps me with this mission of science outreach, reaching a wider audience, being able to share the beauty and wonder of paleontology with anybody who's interested. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who followed from those raids. Thank you to the subscribers and the resubscribers, the gifters and the cheerers who support our mission of science outreach financially. You don't know how much I appreciate it. It's the reason I'm out here. Thank you to everybody who asked questions and shared their enthusiasm, and thank you, of course, to the moderators. It's a safe and welcoming community for everybody. You're the backbone of this community, and I appreciate you. I will hopefully be streaming again tomorrow around the same time, maybe from a different fossil site, maybe from this site. We'll see. But let's go right into Yogurt Garrel and see what her reaction is when people show up in her chat. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.